Hey guys, welcome to everyone to Infamous Sylvia reenactment of the trial. I know the trial happened a month ago.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, but we want to zone in on a particular witness. And that witness, the reason why we want to zone in this particular witness is because her father was on a platform yesterday and he made some comments in regarding to what was said on the witness stand. So what we're going to do, we're going to debunk some of the statements he had said because he claims that it was only said during the defense side and not during the direct prosecution. So what we're going to do, we're going to emphasize and show you guys where he has uh, lied. In other words, lied. So I would like to welcome my reenactment actors, Mr. Sultry speaking, aka Terry,
Hey, you got it right.
Miss Nakia, and Miss Rhoda. Miss Rhoda,
Hey.
she,
Hey,
she's our
Happy Sophie.
hometown judge, and then Nakia is going to be the sassy Jane Doe number 5, which we know, aka Azriel Clary. So that is what we're going to do. But before we do that, I would like to say congratulations to it's Fig because it's Fig is the number one person that was in the chat, and we were trying to find out who we're going to give that $50 to. So
And she got
congratulations,
it.
it's Fig, because she came
Hey,
in with the
hey, hey.
what I need is Figs to do.
Congrats.
I need Fig
Congrats.
to send me your Cash App to
Yes.
770-856-3091 along with your
Mm-hmm.
name. So when he looks it up, he can find out exactly, who you
Congrats.
are. So congratulations on your $50, Miss Fig. It's
what you
Fig.
in for?
$50.
Look at me be asking, talking about Terry, can you
She
be
said,
Jane
"What?
Doe,
I just
please?
broke my phone."
Oh, they want me to act? Yeah, I want me to
Okay,
do that voice.
send it to my email
Congratulations.
if you don't have it.
Congratulations. Mm-hmm.
So she won
You're
for
No,
being the
welcome.
first
You're
one in the
welcome.
chat.
she
She
was
was the
in
first
here.
one in the chat. We
Oh,
made
She
okay,
the
was in
okay,
here
decision at
waiting.
the last minute to
okay.
find out how to get the money out to them.
Please,
Oh.
Terry. So they want me to be Jane Doe. Oh, yes, that's right. And don't forget, you want to check out that new video Mr. Fofo got on his page. If you're not a subscriber, get up in there and check that video out that he dropped. It's most definitely some gems that he's always dropping there. But we got some more. We got some more cash. We ain't gonna tell you when, but we always got some more cash. And you know that you have to be subscribed. Anytime you want to win something, you got to be subscribed to at least both people, Mr. Fofo and my sister right here, Sylvia. I seen her flashing that badge earlier. What's up with that lady?
Hey, I can't tell you. I might have to kill you.
I seen her flashing that badge. Take that back to the bushes, whoever's in the bushes. Take it back to the bushes. Yeah, she flashing that bad private investigator. All right, there. Let's see where we lead. Okay, so I got a special request. Let me see if my see if my voice can do a Jane Doe for you, Mimi. So
No,
what
no,
parts
no,
we
no, no,
doing?
no, no. We're not gonna do that. Okay, y'all. We're gonna go to
We
pay. We're gonna go to
she
those who
say
have
do
transcript with them. We're gonna go to August 23rd, and
what
it's going to
page?
be page 765.
Okay,
August
I have
23rd,
741.
page
Where's
765.
Miss Geddes? Where's Henny Hen at?
She's here.
She there? Henny?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, baby. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I ain't heard your voice in a few days.
I'm over here printing out this and I already got it.
All right, guys, let's get started. Stay focused and
Wait.
shout out to the young man who's streaming this live right now. His name is someone send me
765.
his information. Shout out to him. Those who knows him, go and subscribe because his name is hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let's go and see. What is his name? He is
Tough
streaming this live.
love.
Yes.
Tough love.
Okay, his name is Tough Love. That's his name. Tough Love. Did someone say Tough Love?
I did
Yeah,
say
Tough
that.
Tough
love.
Love. Shout out to Tough Love for streaming this live right here. All right, and he did a great live this morning.
All right, tough love. Shout outs to you, my brother.
Has Jane been sworn in yet?
All right,
No, we
there
ain't
we
did
go.
anything
We're
yet.
gonna
Okay,
go
then
ahead
we're on
and
764.
We're on
764, y'all.
764.
You hadn't been sworn in yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. 764. Are you sure? Of course, we need to court reporter. Da, 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 da.
Because she says, please stand and raise your right hand. She's sworn
All
in.
right, so we're ready. You sure it ain't 763?
64.
764. That's when
All
she's
right.
coming in.
Can we get started now, guys?
We want to make sure we on cue.
All right,
Okay.
764.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, we
Yes, I
can.
can hear you.
I mean, you
Okay.
can
All
go back
right,
to
Tanya, can you please do me a favor? Take all the parts that are missing, and everybody, let's roll.
Oh, I would just ad lib, go at it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, you can start on 763.
Would
I
that
told
be
you.
okay? Would that be me? So I'm taking the courtroom deputy, or just all the parts that no one else has? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Me and you alternate because I don't think I'm
Taking
in this
a
one.
courtroom deputy and all the parts, and yeah, all those parts.
Okay.
Small
I want to
parts.
be a
All right.
Jane.
Yeah.
All rise.
All rise. Okay, go on. She said, all rise. Then that's some more your part.
Hi. The court is myself, right? Okay.
No,
Hi.
you may be seated is your
You
next
may be
line.
seated. Yeah.
Oh,
Number 16.
Okay. Okay, wait just a second. Wait just a second. Okay.
Take your time.
There we go. Okay. You may
Line
be
16.
seated. Yes.
Oh.
You may be seated.
Okay, we're ready to resume. Are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Jane. Your Honor, may we speak to you very briefly at sidebar?
Do we need the court reporter?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Jane calls henceforth. Okay, so I read that part. So please raise your right hand. Sorry.
Jane Con.
To your next page. Jane called as a
Number
witness
3.
having first. Yeah.
I do.
Okay. Please state your name for the record.
Jane.
You may be seated.
All right. Let's just make sure the microphone. Okay. I want to make sure it's working. Okay. So first thing, speak into the microphone. The second thing is that our court reporters take down everything that you say. So it's important not to speak too quickly or to speak over whichever lawyer is asking you questions. If there's something that you don't understand or you want to have repeated, just say so. And I have the lawyer rephrase the question. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Go ahead and you can take your mask off. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 75. Do you recognize what's shown in Government's Exhibit 75?
I do.
Who is that?
That's me.
The government offers Government Exhibit 75.
Any objection?
May I? Vio.
Border.
May I?
Border.
May I?
You got to finish your.
Oh.
Vio DR.
Sure. But you have to use your microphone.
Ma'am, do you have a recollection as to when this picture was taken?
This picture was taken. This is my driver's license.
Okay, thank you.
So no objection.
No objection.
Okay. It's in evidence.
May I publish?
Yes.
And now I'm showing the witness only what's been marked as government's for identification as government's exhibit 75A. I'm sorry, 5B. Do you see what's shown in 75B?
I do.
Is this the name written under? Does 75B include the same photograph that was just published in government's 75?
It does.
And underneath your photograph, is that your true name and
It,
nickname?
it is.
The government offers 75B and would ask that the 75B be published to the jury only.
Okay. I forgot to ask if there's any an objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
How old are you today?
I'm 23.
I'm showing the witness what's in evidence as government's exhibit 1. Everyone can see government's exhibit 1. Thank you. Do you recognize the individual in government exhibit 1?
I do.
Do you personally know the individual?
I do.
Who is that?
That is Robert Kelly, the defendant.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do not.
Can you take a close
That's me. That's me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you take a closer look? Do you see him?
No. I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses. But is it possible for the defendant to stand up?
Could the defendant remove?
No. No.
He can't remove his mask?
Yes, I see the defendant.
Now, hold on, y'all. Now you see what I'm talking about. Her father claims that she was so intimidated by him, right? But look at the game she's playing in here. She's asking him to get up. She act like she don't see him. Now, come on, y'all.
You know good and well she
Yeah,
knows
she
who
wants
he
him to
is.
get up.
And he didn't even need to remove his mask.
Right.
Okay. So now this is we're doing in between talk because we want to show the inconsistency of what the father was saying yesterday. Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And this is the prosecution side as well, for people that can't understand
Yeah,
that.
this is the prosecution direct because remember he was claiming yesterday that the defense, she was saying that in the defense, and then the prosecution went to redo the statement. But now listen to the statement that she is saying on the direct side, okay?
He also tried to
He also
both
said she's
sides.
only able to say yes and no to the defendants, to the defense side, and she's fully able to talk on the prosecution side, which is a lie.
Okay, because you heard what she said, right? Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Line 14.
He
The
can't
court.
remove his mask?
Yes, I see the defendant.
Can you point to him and describe an article of his clothing?
He has a suit on.
What color shirt does he have on?
A black suit.
All right. Indicating the defendant, I said shirt. And she said,
You heard that, right? She asked for a shirt.
Exactly.
He has a black suit. Okay.
she needs her glasses. All right. Indicating the defendant.
No, she's playing games.
How old were you when you met the defendant?
I was 17 years old.
What year was that?
It was 2015.
Have you had sexual contact with the defendant?
I have.
When did you first have sexual contact with the defendant?
When I was 17 years old.
And did you continue to have sexual contact with him for a period of time?
I did.
How long were you with the defendant?
For 5 years.
I want to direct your attention to April 8th of April 8th.
Hold on a second. She said she has had sexual contact with him for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Now listen to this. What year did she meet him? 2015, right? So what year did he go to jail?
19.
2019. So is that 5 years?
No, that's 3.
And she's supposed to be 23 now?
Okay. I'm just
No, I'm
pointing some
saying
things out to you guys. It says she has
inconsistency.
had sex with him for 5 years, right?
5 years.
So
Yeah.
2015 would be 2020, right? That would be 5 years.
Right.
Mhm.
But he
Right.
went to jail in what?
2019.
19.
19. Yep. Okay, let's continue.
Mhm.
I think July of 19, right?
Yeah, but I just want to point out to some of the stuff that these people are saying. But come on, let's go.
I want to direct your attention to April 18th of 2015. Do you remember that day?
I do.
Where, if any, where did you go to evening? Where did
I,
you go to that evening?
I went to a festival with my parents.
Who was the headliner at the festival?
The defendant.
Now he
Hold
also
on, hold
The
on.
dad said he wasn't the headliner, right?
right.
Yeah, the dad said that Robert was not the headliner.
Mhm.
And someone sent me something earlier today, dated the 5th of February, where it says that Robert was going to be the headliner in the Funk Fest in April. So another lie Andrew Slow just said.
Keep
He
up with
always
them
the
lies,
headliner.
y'all.
Wherever he went, he was the headliner.
Hmm.
And was he performing under the name Art Kelly?
He was.
In what city was the concert?
It was in Orlando, Florida.
Did you live in Orlando?
I did.
Can you keep your voice up? I want to make sure you are speaking into the microphone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I did.
And how old were you at the time of the concert?
I was 17.
When is your birthday?
December 30th, 1997.
In April of 2015, when you met the defendant, were you still in high school?
I was.
What year were you?
I was a junior in high school.
And what was the name of the high school that you then attended?
Freedom High School.
And that was in Orlando?
Yes.
Do you remember in what section you were seated at the festival where you first saw the defendant?
I was in the C section.
And what, if anything, happened?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what section.
What section were you in?
A C section.
A C section.
Yes.
What, if anything, happened while you were in the C section?
There were people from his entourage who were giving out wristbands.
And did you receive one of those wristbands?
I did.
What did the wristband allow you to do? Allow you to you?
No, the wristband allowed you to go to the pit and also the meet and greet after the show.
Did you then go to the pit?
I did.
I need someone to take over just for a moment.
Okay. It was in front of the A section. Wait, it's the question. And where was the pit located
Pit
in connection with
located.
the stage?
It was in front of the A section, directly in front where the talent would have performed, the defendant.
And by talent, you're referring to the defendant?
Yes, I am.
What, if anything, did you then go to the pit?
I did. Yes.
What, if anything, did you notice about the defendant while you were in the pit?
He performed majority of his songs to me, and
Hold
he
on,
did.
hold on, hold on,
Wow, 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 wow.
hold on,
Yeah.
So
hold
where
on.
was her parents?
Hmm.
He performed majority of his songs to me, but the parents said that she didn't like his songs, right? I mean, she didn't
Hmm.
like to sing because it was too long.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
Okay, so you just
my
17
question
year
too
old.
was, when she got the wristband, where was her parents in them then?
Exactly.
They had to have bought that type of ticket for a wristband.
Hmm.
You have to buy different types of tickets to get backstage passes.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So, okay, come
He
on. Let's,
He performed majority of his songs to me,
Mm.
and he did show me a lot of attention.
Okay.
I'm-
He showed her a lot of attention. Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And where was her parents? Okay, so I'm showing the witness
Yeah.
only what's been marked for identification as government exhibit 248A. Do you recognize 248A?
I do.
And what is that?
This is a picture of the defendant grabbing my hand.
Government offers exhibit 248A.
Any objection? Was this at the concert you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor, I do object.
Overruled.
Then why you ask me?
May we publish?
Yes.
Okay, whose hand is this right here?
That is my hand with 2 wristbands.
And were those the wristbands that you received from a member of the defendant's entourage that allowed you to go to the pit?
Objection to the leading,
Overruled.
of course.
And whose hand is this right here, indicating where my pen is pointing?
That was the defendant's.
Now, did the defendant stay on stage continuously during the show?
He did not.
What happened?
I believe he had breaks, and there was also another point of the show where he performed on another stage.
Okay, during the show, what, if any, additional contacts did you have with other associates of the defendant?
When he performed his second set at the stage that was further in the middle of the crowd, someone from his entourage did come to me, and they gave me a sheet of paper and said, "Don't tell anyone."
Did you take a look at the sheet of paper?
I did.
And what was on it?
It was the defendant's name and phone number.
Hold
What
up,
was
hold
this-
up. What did the father say? Hold up. Do you guys remember what the father said yesterday?
He
That
said,
he put
Oh,
her
text-
number in his phone.
In the
Her phone.
phone, did he?
He said that he already had the phone number because they didn't realize that backstage R. Kelly had took her phone and put his number in it.
But did y'all did y'all just hear what she just said on the testimony on the thing? He said somebody gave her a sheet of paper. And what was on the sheet of paper? His name and what? His phone number.
Phone number.
But
Wow.
but the dad said it was already in her phone.
Thank you.
She perjured herself, and I'm not understanding what
Why-
part
why
you don't
you-
Let's
understand.
Let's continue.
Okay.
guys.
Okay, so
Number
Number
18.
17.
okay, so what was listed when you said the defendant's name? What did it say?
It said Rob, and it had a number.
Do you remember the telephone number that was written on that piece of paper?
I do.
What is it?
It was 312-925-0880.
What happened after the defendant finished performing that show?
After the show, it was a meet and greet. However, I was dressed up for the show, so I didn't go to the meet and greet. I found my parents after.
Hold up. Hold
Yeah,
Pump the brakes.
Hold up. Pump the
Pump
brakes.
the
y'all.
brakes.
What did he say yesterday?
Didn't he?
Did he say she went to the back of the stage and then when the other guy started talking about, oh yeah, they walked to the back of the stage and supposedly
Yep.
they went to the back of the stage to be back there. Okay.
He also said when you get pulled up on stage, you don't come back down the same way. You go to the side or whatever the case may be. I don't know if we've gotten to that now, but that's what Liar said.
The
Okay.
Lion King.
Okay, now let's continue.
I'm showing.
And this is her testimony on the
Testimony.
direct side, which is the prosecutor who's asking these questions.
Asking her.
Okay. And I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as government exhibit 245A. Do you recognize what's shown in 245A?
I do.
What is shown in 245A?
It is a picture of me with a pair of black panties.
There it is, y'all.
Oh,
What
he
did the
said
father
she didn't
say?
get no panties. She did. It was just the name of the tour. As a matter of fact, I went to Black Panties when that tour, but he said, and he threw panties out all sizes, small, medium, large,
Extra large.
and extra large. Seriously, and he said that she didn't get any panties.
That's what he said on that show yesterday. Guys, I hope
Yeah,
y'all save that show. Y'all need to record it, save it,
he
send it.
said it was just the name of the tour, but
Yeah.
if he was, listen to this, if it was a festival, it wasn't the Black Panties Festival, was it?
No.
Black Panties was just his
Black Panties was
individual tour
step.
by himself.
Yeah.
And it was the name of his last album.
Yep. She's lying. So that picture she
He's
got.
lying too.
And when was that Black Panties tour?
But she also
He was of age.
The Black Panties tour was in 2015
Okay.
because we traveled all the way to Arkansas to see it.
excuse me 1 minute. She also put it on her Facebook or
Twitter?
somewhere that she had someone. I seen a text a screenshot of her saying about the Black Panties.
But it was supposed to have been the Funk Fest.
That's what he said. It wasn't. He wasn't headlining. It was a festival with a lot of artists. Right?
And it was because somebody sent a copy of it to Sylvia, but this Black Panties, that's what. So she's lying. She's lying.
Of course. Wow. Wow. Now that was during the time that he had that he was promoting the Black Panties album and his tour, so he may have added that festival on, but definitely he was throwing out Black Panties for sure.
But he said that she didn't get a Black Panty.
I know he's lying. If she's in the pit, she got Black Panties. And he said that he came in at the last. Myself.
Hey, remember he said he came in at the last minute, but according to that newspaper article, they announced him back in February 5th. So that's not last minute to me.
Liar. No, none of that's last minute. Okay. Geddes, are you ready? You gonna take over?
Yes. What line we on?
12.
Okay. And when was the photograph taken?
This was the initial date in April at the same show.
Who took the photograph?
I took the photo.
Government offers 245A.
Any objection?
None.
All right. That's in evidence. And
And
you can publish it.
And does this photo reflect what you were wearing to the concert? That
It does.
Did the heifer have baggy clothes on, like her daddy said?
that in there.
I don't know. They didn't show the picture.
And you testified that you're holding a pair of black panties. Where did you receive those from?
From the defendant.
And he also said that Walmart comment, remember? When did you receive those?
He gave them to me while performing.
And was the defendant performing as part of the tour?
He was.
Do you know the name of the tour that the defendant was performing?
It was his Black Panties tour.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. I'm confused. So Black Panties tour, I know happened in 2015 because I went. So was he at the festival or was it the Black Panties tour? Which one was it?
Festival, because somebody sent it to somebody pulled it up.
It was a festival. It was a festival. It wasn't the Black Panty tour.
It wasn't the Black Panties tour then.
No.
Because on the Black Panties tour with R. Kelly was Tamar Braxton.
Right. Yep. And see, this was this had.
So this one here has I'll tell you. Hold on.
It's WP.
Hold on.
Somebody sent it to Sylvia yesterday. So yeah.
But maybe she was confused. It probably was the Grandma Panties tour.
Maybe he was on tour. Maybe this was just a show that was in the process of him doing his tour.
Yeah, maybe he added it to
Yeah.
his
No,
schedule.
she said this was the tour. This was not the tour. Not in Florida. That was that Funk Fest.
And she said he was headlining it. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Hold on now.
Okay. At a
Oh,
festival, there's normally not a headliner.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes, okay.
Mhm.
Hold on. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, because somebody sent it to you. Yeah.
I know. I'm trying to. Hold on. Trying to find it. Hold on, y'all. Oh, I got it. Hold on. So stop sharing that so I can see it. All right, here we go. Y'all see that? Orlando Weekly. Y'all reading it?
Mm-hmm.
It says
Got
R.
it.
Kelly
R. Kelly
headlines
headlines
Funk
Funk
Fest
Fest
in Florida in April.
April.
Blogs.
April 18th.
February 4th, 2015. Things are about to get freaky at the fairgrounds as Funk Fest rolls into town. Saturday, April 18th. Wait a minute, didn't she say it was April 8th?
Now the Geddes end
She
up saying
changed it.
April 18th.
She changed it.
Okay, okay. Who's the actor is Houdini and SWV.
Yep. So she's saying that he was on the Black Panthers tour. And this is at another time that she done went because these are two different tours.
Well, somebody lied. Thank you for the thank you, Spitfire. Okay.
Spitting.
Let's see when the Black Panthers tour was in Orlando.
now you testified that during the show, am I holding on?
no,
You,
go ahead.
you were given a piece of paper with the defendant's name and telephone number.
What number are you up to? I'm sorry.
Number 12, line 12.
Nope.
What
Oh,
page?
15,
What page?
775.
Okay.
775.
Sorry, guys.
What, if anything, did you do with that piece of paper?
I gave the paper to my mom.
And what, if anything else, did you do with the phone number on the piece of paper?
Hold on. Did you just hear him? What she just say? She gave the paper to who?
To her,
Her
to
mom.
her mom.
Mom. The phone number was not that. She gave the paper to her mom, people.
Interesting.
This is a testimony she has given to the prosecution. This is not even the defense side yet. This is not cross-examination. She says she gave the phone number, the paper, to her mom. Okay, let's go. And now y'all saying why the parents definitely need to be arrested.
And what, if anything else, did you do with the phone number on that piece of paper?
I did text the number.
Did you receive a response from the defendant?
Initially, no, because I hadn't entered the proper number.
You later learned that you had entered an incorrect number.
Yes.
I want to step back a moment. You testified that you were in high school at the time, in your junior year. What your interest is in high school?
Music, and I did a lot of sports.
What, if any, music related after school activities did you participate in?
I was taking 3 choir classes at the time, and I was a part of the Patriot Singers, which was basically a group of our best singers, and you had to audition to be a part of it. And it was very selected. And that is something that I took after school. It was mandatory.
It was selected but mandatory. Okay.
How
Mhm.
many days?
And I went to the Black Pennies tour. Back on that, I went was in May of 2015, I think. Yeah, 14. I went in May of 2014.
So how long did the Black Panty tour last?
It
Was it
lasted for a while.
It was a while. It
It
was
was
some
a
months.
while. He went
Mm-hmm.
all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It lasted probably a year, maybe, or longer.
How many days a week did Patriot singers meet?
Monday through Friday.
Every day?
I did, yes. Every
Every
single
single
day,
day.
yes.
And did you also take any music? Did you take any music courses in high school?
I did, yes.
What type of courses did you take?
I took varsity and I also took a class called um I don't actually remember the specific name
That's
of
funny.
it.
Varsity is a course.
Yeah, you can
Mm,
play varsity. You don't
you're
take
right.
no. Jesus Christ.
When
Okay.
was varsity a course in school?
All right, I'm gonna reread it. I
Maybe she was
took
trying to say she did the varsity teams. I don't know.
I took varsity and I also took a class called I don't actually remember the specific name of it, but
Hmm.
it was a class dedicated to a small group of our students who were working to get scholarships for performance.
At that time, are you okay? At that time, had you earned any money singing?
I had
How had you earned money?
Hmm.
outside of my school, I was a performer and I did shows and I would write music. So usually I would get gigs.
And you were paid for some of those gigs.
I was
What type of music did you want to pursue back then?
R&B,
And what type of music did the defendant perform?
R&B.
You also testified that one of your interests in high school were sports. What type of sports did you participate in?
I participated in track and weightlifting.
I want to turn back to when one of the defendant's associates gave you the defendant's phone number. Were you then interested in the defendant romantically?
I was not.
You testified, though, that you did try to contact him by sending him a text message.
I did
Why did you try to reach out to the defendant?
because he was a musician as well, and I felt any critique would be good critique.
Critique of your own musical skills?
Yes,
How did you eventually get in touch with the defendant?
I eventually had a FaceTime with him because I didn't know if it was necessarily just someone from his entourage who was trying to take advantage of me. And when I did FaceTime him, it was in fact him.
Okay, now can I just point out something? In order
Yes, ma'am.
in order for her to have a FaceTime with him, she had to have gotten his number.
So,
So
which means she put it in her phone correctly, not incorrectly,
Yeah.
right.
like she stated.
Exactly.
And everybody
Exactly.
for that date, Joe Brown said that as long as you delete messages within 48 hours, they can't be traced. Remember him saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Remember her mom was texting him, so who knows what she deleted? Just saying.
And keep in your mind, he said they had sex the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
That's what he said.
okay, okay.
Now, at the time when you FaceTimed him, and just for the record, can you explain what you mean by FaceTime?
FaceTime is a visual phone call.
Okay, so was it a way for you to see the caller that you're talking to?
Yes.
Now, at the time when you first FaceTimed with the defendant, did you learn whether or not either of your parents, if any, had contact with the defendant?
At that time, I did not.
How were you able to get the defendant's phone number?
Well, when I realized that I didn't have the right number, I did. I happened to be on my mom's phone for something, and I did see she had been texting the defendant.
Bam.
Bam,
Tell that to
bam, bam.
She told that to
Wait.
who? The what?
Prosecutor.
Prosecution. The government.
She told that the government, the mom had Robert's number in her phone, the
And
mom's
he
phone.
never put that phone number in her phone. She put that number in her phone from the piece of paper.
Yep.
Yeah, because he
Well,
said,
I'm confused because if she didn't put the right number in, how was she FaceTiming him?
Exactly. I think she got she. I think she after she realized that the mama was texting him, she probably picked up that phone and FaceTimed them from the mama's phone. I bet you.
No, because it's going back saying she just kind of reversed back to say, how are you able to get the defendant's phone
Read
number?
that part again from the part, a little bit up, y'all. So
From
we can get it.
19
Yeah, because I think they
From
just
or
got
19.
tracked.
18.
18.
Or no, 16. Go ahead, 16.
now at that time when you first FaceTimed with the defendant, did you learn whether or not either of your parents, if any, had any contact with the defendant?
At that time, I did not.
How were you
Oh,
how were you able to get the defendant's phone number?
Well, when I realized that I didn't have the right number, I did. I happened to be on my mom's phone for something, and I did see she had been texting the defendant.
wait a minute.
Can I just say one more?
I'll read it one more time. Well, when I realized I didn't have the right number, I did. I
She
happened
did.
to
So she
be
said when she didn't realize she had the right number, she did. I did.
did. I happened to be on my mom's phone for something, and I did see she had been texting the defendant.
So, Angelo, do you hear that? I know you're in my bushes. Do you hear what we just read from your daughter herself on the
From
witness
the
stand under oath?
talking to the government, Mr. Clary.
Under
Well, look,
oath?
I don't give a about you mother and you mother and because
Can I say one more thing? Also, I still believe at court it should have been relevant what that mother was saying to R. Kelly.
All of
Mm-hmm.
it's fraudulent because
Because
I learned today
they're
that
trying to say he's this big pedophile. I'm sure.
First of all, let's define pedophile. Let's go on the dictionary definition of pedophile. Hold on, because I'm
while
tired
you're
of
looking
this.
for
Can I
that, Miss,
continue
while you're
talking?
looking for that, Miss Sylvia, did she not? Was she still with him in 2018?
Mm-hmm.
Can I say
Why
something?
was her parents filing them on their bankruptcy?
Good question. But I'm just saying, if he's such this big pedophile like they're trying to say he is, I don't care what guy it is. When you first get a girl's phone number, you're trying to holler at him. You're trying to, you know what I'm saying? If that's how he was cut, if it wasn't just strictly business. So the mom would have seen something inappropriate right there, wouldn't you think?
No, not if she's already been texting him. So we'll see if we keep reading, I guess.
No, do you get
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say?
Okay, it says here, it's preteen. Preteen.
Not teenager, but pre, which
And
means 9, 10,
Preteen.
11, 12.
That'd be 12 because you haven't hit into the
It says
teen
12.
yet.
It says 12.
Mm-hmm.
Anything 12 and under.
Mm-hmm.
Preteen. It says, well, it says 13 and younger. It says a pedophile is a person
13.
who has sustained sexual orientation towards children, generally age 13 and younger.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was
13 and
married at
younger.
16. Yeah.
Something's not adding up.
so go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So did you learn that your mom had, in fact, been communicating with the defendant by text message?
I did.
And did you happen to look at some of those text messages?
I did.
Who, the ones she didn't delete,
Mm.
who was the defendant Who was your mom perpetrating to be when she was communicating with the defendant?
My mother was acting as me.
Uh-uh.
And that's
Mm,
prosecution.
mm,
Prosecution, not defense,
mhm,
not
Lying ass.
cross-examination. This is the direct. So, Mr. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Your daughter said that about your wife.
mm.
And
And
but then he did say yesterday, oh,
he
she got on the stand because she was still trying to protect him.
and
No,
then
that sounds like somebody trying to protect somebody. You talking about stand up?
don't forget about the time where he said that my wife wouldn't send over no picture. You think she would disrespect me like that? Shoot, I think it's
Mm,
respectful when you're in a relationship texting another man. What's wrong with you?
Mhm. So
it's
they had a plot,
frustrating,
and the
man.
plot thickens.
Right.
Mhm,
Even and to
mhm,
even starting this to start the relationship off being fraudulent is a key
mhm,
that it's a sign that they were trying to get something from him.
Thank
mhm,
They were
you.
broke.
mhm,
They were broke as a joke back then,
mhm,
and up until 2018, he was still broke. And
mhm.
so I don't know. It just had motive to me. So
Okay,
Mhm.
now
yeah, go
remember,
ahead.
she went to her mom's phone. Now keep reading. Watch the line, girl. What she said.
Now you said that you did eventually start communicating with the defendant. I think you testified that you FaceTimed him.
Yes.
Do you recall what telephone you were using to communicate with the defendant?
I was using an iPod, which must have been iPad, that I had
Mhm.
gifted by my mother because at the time I had an Android.
Okay, listen. The mama's phone is what she's been using the whole time. The and
Mhm.
because she had an Android, y'all.
Mhm.
Oh,
Couldn't have been
Yeah.
FaceTiming them on an Android, that's for sure.
Did you guys hear that?
Mm, the plot
Mm.
the
thickens.
plot thick. I
And
was
the
getting ready to
mama had
say
the
that.
number all that time, y'all.
Mhm,
So Mr.
Mhm.
Clary
mhm.
seems. So Mr. Clary seems like Alice Clary did disrespect you, sir.
Right. And did the iPad allow you to do FaceTiming?
It did.
And did you use another telephone to also text message and communicate with the defendant?
I did.
What phone is that?
That is the phone that I had at 17 years old. I was an Android. It was an Android.
I'm showing the witness what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 233. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 233?
I do.
What is it?
It is my phone from high school.
And is that the phone that you were using to communicate with the defendant or one of the phones you were using?
It was.
Government's exhibit Government exhibit offers 233.
No objection.
Okay, question. So
Why would she
Robert was
still have her phone from high
yeah.
school?
Because her
That's
parents had it. That's why.
Hmm.
They they saved all this stuff. Oh wow.
Hmm.
because they were plotting. Why would you save all
Mhm.
this stuff? Because you plot. You don't think of
Mhm.
saving that stuff. How many of you guys have stuff from 5 years ago for phone calls? You don't save that unless you having it for a
No.
reason
Mm.
to bring it out 4 years later. Come on,
Right.
Right.
we're not dumb. Remember, we're what? What are we? Hold on. I got to show my badge. Hold on.
PIs.
Hold on. Here's what we are. Hold on. Hold on.
Mhm.
Sorry. What are we?
Let it be known.
Investigative. Yeah.
Let it be known.
Mm,
Bushes, take that back.
We're
That
It
not
ain't
dumb
fake.
over
it was.
here.
It ain't fake.
mm,
I
Just
was
in
I was
case.
I was
mm.
also told today. I was also told and heard that we're all old aunties and
Mm.
perverts.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah. Our,
Yeah, you're gonna get called names when you're exposing the truth like we do.
and our
No, but they were talking about all the women. We're old
Oh,
aunties
really?
and perverts.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Again.
shoot, kids had their cars at 15.
All right, we're sorry. We had to put a commercial break of the PI work we do over here. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Government's exhibit offers 233. Can it?
No objection.
All right. That's in evidence.
Now, before you met the government or first met with the government, when did you last see that phone that's in evidence as government's exhibit 233?
The last time I saw that phone was in Florida before I left my family.
Okay. Do you remember when that was?
It was probably June or July
Of what year?
2015.
Didn't he say something about
September.
September?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. He said September was the last time he. Oh, y'all, guys.
The lying.
He said September. She just says
September.
June or July?
June, July, y'all. Okay.
And did you use the phone after you left in Florida with your family?
I did not.
Let's wait until the lawyer finishes asking the questions before you answer. That way it's easier for the court reporter. Okay? That's all right. Go ahead.
You said that you saw some of the messages that your mom had been exchanging with the defendant. What did you understand at the time that your mom had told the defendant when she was communicating with him by acting as?
To my knowledge, she did tell him that I was a musician and that I was an artist. And she did send him videos of me on YouTube of me performing live.
Was that the one with her underwears?
Mm. Mm.
Okay, I'm sorry. My bad.
And when you started to communicate with the defendant, what, if anything, did you and the defendant discuss over the phone and in text messages?
Initially, he said, I did tell him that I was a musician, and he said that I could come and audition.
What, if anything, did you tell the defendant about your age?
I told the defendant that I was 18.
Mm.
Y'all
Oh,
hear that? He told the
Mm.
defendant she was what?
18.
Thank you.
were you in fact 17?
I was.
You
Mm.
mentioned that the defendant told you that you could audition. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you arrange? Was the place arranged and a time arranged for you to have an audition with the defendant?
Yes, it was
Where was that supposed to take place? Oh,
at the Dolphin Hotel.
Go ahead, take over, Tanya. Oh shoot.
We're in the Dolphin Hotel.
It's on
Am I in?
Disney's property in Kissimmee.
You in?
Okay, here I go. Here I go.
Number 9.
Number 9.
is that near Orlando where you live?
Yes,
And whose idea was it to meet at the Dolphin Hotel?
it was the defendant's
Where did you next see the defendant?
at the Dolphin Hotel.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as government's exhibit 518A, E, and G. This is 518A, 518E, and 518G. Do you recognize what's been shown on these 3 exhibits?
I do.
What is that?
That is the hotel that Mr. the defendant had asked me to meet him at.
And are those fair and accurate photos of the hotel and how it appeared when you met him there?
It is, yes.
The government exhibit offers 518A, E, and G.
No objection.
All right. Those are in evidence.
I'm going to put 518E on the screen. Now, do you recall how long it was between the festival where you first saw the defendant and when you went to the Dolphin Hotel for the audition with the defendant?
It was probably a few days. He did say
Okay.
that he usually stayed there after for a few days.
Not the next day, but a few days.
Hmm.
A few days, y'all. A few days. Not the
According
next.
to her pappy, she went the next day.
Hmm.
I want to get to the part where R. Kelly ran out the door.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I do.
And when you say he, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
Do you remember what you did before you went to the Dolphin Hotel that day?
I was at school.
And where did you go after school?
I After the Patriot Singers, I didn't go to any sports activities. I went to my friend Malik's house and I got dressed.
Can I have her read that back?
Whose house?
Malik,
Ron's house.
she's a friend of mine that I attended high school with.
Okay.
Could I have the entire answer read?
Sure. What was the name again?
Malik,
Malik.
Malak.
Malak.
Yes,
Malak.
yes,
Go ahead.
Thank you.
You testified that you were at your friend's house and then you got dressed. Did you then go to the Dolphin Hotel?
I did.
Who, if anyone, came with you to the Dolphin Hotel?
No one.
Who, if anyone, knew that you were going to meet the defendant at the Dolphin Hotel that day?
My family.
Mhm.
Do
Okay.
your family? He said he didn't
He
know.
said the brother came home from school.
Hold on.
Saw the
The
car.
family, the family knew where she was at.
Yeah. Daddy said the brother came home from school, saw her car was gone, and knew she had wasn't at school, so he called the daddy.
So there was no one in the industry that he got a hint from where she could possibly be.
No, they knew where she was.
Wow.
Mm.
Said someone his contacts.
He said his contact told him where the hotel was, but she just said that the family knew.
That's
Bingo.
live.
That's right, y'all. Okay, come on.
Mm.
Do you remember what you wore when you went to meet the defendant that day?
Yes, I do. I wore I wore black
No, she wore
kidney.
baggy clothes. Remember, that's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But go
I
ahead. I'm
wore
sorry.
I wore black kidney heels and a pair of skinny jeans, dark
Mm.
blue, and a crop top that had mesh at the top.
I'm sorry.
Wait a
I
minute.
did. Hmm.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Terry.
I'm sorry. I didn't get the top.
It had mesh on the
Mesh and
top.
crop top. So that means it was underneath her boobs.
Mhm.
Crop top shows your belly.
Right.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as 247A for the witness only. Do you recognize what's shown in 247A?
I do.
What is that?
That is me prior to meeting the defendant.
And who took that photograph?
I took that picture.
And did you take it the day that you were going to the Dolphin Hotel to meet the defendant?
I did.
Government offers 247A.
No objection.
Okay. That's in evidence.
Now, you testified you went to the Dolphin Hotel to meet the defendant. Where did you first see him at the Dolphin Hotel?
When I drove there, he told me that it would be a black Sprinter out front of the hotel and to get inside.
Did you see the black Sprinter when you arrived?
I did.
And when you say black Sprinter, what are you referring to?
A,
Track Slaughter. Go
a,
on.
a Mercedes-Benz black Sprinter van.
And who, if anyone, did you then go inside the Sprinter?
I did.
Who, if anyone, was inside the Sprinter when you went there?
The defendant.
Anyone else that you saw?
No.
Where was the Sprinter van parked?
It was parked in front of the hotel.
Was it parked in the parking lot or in another location?
No. It was parked directly in the roundabout.
In front of the Dolphin Hotel.
Okay, when
Yes.
somebody park in a roundabout, doesn't that mean they're not going to be there too long, or they just,
It's just for a hot second.
For
or
like
is it, or is it
loading and unloading your
Yeah,
baggage.
exactly.
okay?
What happened when you went inside the Sprinter?
When I got inside the Sprinter, me and the defendant talked.
Do you remember what you talked about that day?
We, of course, talked about me auditioning, and he had asked me a few questions.
Do you remember what he asked you?
Yes.
What did he ask you?
He had asked me to sit on his lap.
How did you respond when the defendant asked you to sit on his lap?
I asked him if he was sure.
See, I'm just saying, if her mom was texting him and he asked her that, if then what was the mom really texting him? Do you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It had to have been a conversation about some sort of interest, because for him to even ask her to come and sit on the lap, you just come on.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That mom had to been texting him something not right. What did the defendant say?
I'm sorry, what line we on?
We're on 14.
14.
Okay. He
Go on.
said he is.
Did you then sit on the defendant's lap?
I did.
What else, if anything, did he ask you when you were inside the Sprinter?
He then asked me for a kiss.
How did you respond to that?
I didn't necessarily want to, and so he said just a small pop kiss.
Now you use the term pop kiss. Was that your word or his word?
His word.
What did you do?
I did kiss. I said, "Are you sure?"
And what happened?
And then he said, "Yes." And then I gave him a pop kiss.
Now, what do you mean by a pop kiss?
Meaning that in his terms, it didn't need to have any tongue. It was just an innocent pop kiss.
Approximately how long did you stay in the Sprinter with the defendant?
Not long, probably about 5 to 7 minutes.
Wow.
And what, if anything, did you do after you were in the Sprinter?
Someone knocked on the outside of the Sprinter, and it was time for us to go upstairs.
Did you see who knocked on the Sprinter van?
I did not, because their back was turned.
So, what did you do when there was a knock and you were told that it was okay to go upstairs or time to go upstairs?
I just followed the defendant up
Where did you go next?
to the hotel room.
And was that a hotel room inside the Dolphin?
It was, yes.
Was anyone else inside the hotel room when you went there?
No.
You testified a minute ago that someone knocked and said it was time to go. What did you understand that individual to mean by that?
Objection,
Overruled.
of course.
It just meant that the keys were ready and that we could go upstairs.
The keys for the hotel room?
Yes.
What, if anything, happened once you were inside the hotel room at the Dolphin Hotel?
When we were upstairs, the defendant took his cigar out of his mouth, and he had expressed to me that before I can audition, that he needed to come.
And by
Oh,
come,
Lord.
what do you mean?
He needed to ejaculate.
What, if anything, was the defendant carrying when you went into the hotel room?
He had a backpack.
And what, if anything, did you bring your phone with you to the Dolphin Hotel?
I did, yes.
What, if anything, did you do with the phone once you were in the hotel room?
When I got upstairs, he told me to turn my phone off because people sometimes try to record him.
Did you turn the phone off?
I did, yes.
You said the defendant said he needed to ejaculate. How did you respond to that?
I was against it.
What did you say to him?
I told him I didn't come to please him and that I was coming for an audition.
What did he say?
And he continued to persist and told me to just, I didn't have to do anything, just to take my clothes off.
How did you respond to that?
I then took my clothes off.
Mhm.
That's
I'm going to get it in.
Crazy.
what happened after that?
He then asked me, he persisted to have sex, and I told him that I hadn't shaved. What?
Now, didn't the say she's a virgin?
Mm-mm-mm.
Why are you worried about shaving if you're a virgin?
Right.
Right.
Point. I'm sorry. When you said he persisted to have sex, what do you mean?
Like, he persisted to continuously try to peer pressure me and to have sex with him.
And you testified that you said you hadn't shaved.
Yes.
How did the defendant respond to that? I don't get what
He
that matters.
He
he
said you better
said
braid it up.
he said even better.
What, if anything, else did you say?
I told him that he persisted again, and I told him that I was sweaty from sports, even though I hadn't attended sports. And his response to that was that there was a shower in the room.
What did you do?
I continued to deny and decline. And so he then told me to just walk back and forth and asked if he could give me oral sex. And
You said that he asked you to walk back and forth.
uh-huh.
What did you understand the defendant to mean by that?
I just thought that we be better than that would.
Somebody go off. Hello?
Okay, I think we lost it. Tanya?
Number 16.
Here I come. So, let's see. Sorry.
16. Line 16.
How did you respond to that? Wait.
Mm,
16.
On page 791.
Okay, 16 is, I just thought that, sorry guys, 16, I just thought that would be better than having sex with the defendant.
Objection.
Overruled.
Of course.
Mhm.
You then walk back and forth for the defendant?
I did, yes.
What, if anything, were you wearing at that time?
I just had on panties and the bra that I had on.
And you mentioned that the defendant also asked you about oral sex.
He did.
Do you remember the words in effect that the defendant used?
Yes.
What did he say?
After that, he said before I could sing that he needed to come again and that he, if I couldn't have sex with him, to at least just let him lick my butt.
It makes sense. I tell you.
Did you have a hamburger?
Got it.
Okay, I'm back, y'all. What line? I'm sorry.
11.
Nine.
Okay.
Not line. Look, line 7.
7. That's fine.
What page?
792. 792.
Line 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After that, he said before I could sing that he needed to come again, and that if I couldn't have sex with him, to at least let him lick my butt.
This is so crazy.
Y'all too
Uh,
much, man.
And what, if anything, he promised in return?
to allow me to audition and to take care of me for life.
Mm.
He said that if you agreed to that he would take care of you for the rest of your life or for your life.
Yes, he did.
What did you say?
I didn't necessarily care for that. I just wanted to sing.
Mm.
So what happened after that?
After that, he then laid down, and I got on top of him backwards, and he did lick my butt.
Okay,
And
I'm trying to
he
picture this. Try to picture this.
Please don't.
She got on her for what?
He must have said
After that,
so.
I then laid down and I got on top of him
Backward.
backwards, and he did lick my butt. And he
But she
had his
laid down. I don't get it.
No,
No, she
down.
got on
on
top of
top of
him
Get on
him.
top
and
of him.
she faced towards his foot, his
Yeah.
feet, put it
Oh,
that
so
way.
her
This
butt
is
was in his face.
right.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he had his backpack beside him and a few iPads that he had taken out.
See,
Now
that doesn't
tell
make
me,
sense. That doesn't make
how
sense at all.
his iPads out with their ass in his face? Oh, covering his face that he couldn't see to push a button.
She said she didn't notice anything because she was backwards. Okay, so how did you know about the app? Honey, this is just
Exactly. Yeah, really. If your back is turned.
Maybe they need to draw that out on the chalkboard for the to see, because he couldn't see to push record on there.
Okay, go ahead, Joe. This is
Mm.
ridiculous.
You mentioned that the defendant had some iPads. What, if anything, did you notice about the iPads then?
I didn't notice anything because I was backwards. So
Exactly.
I couldn't necessarily see what was visible on them.
But you saw defendant remove an iPad or two.
Yes, I did.
What happened next?
There was a knock on the door.
Now listen carefully, y'all.
What, if anything, did the defendant do when you heard that knock on the door?
He got up and he went to the door and he saw that it was officers at the door. He then told me to go to the washroom and put my clothes on. And he asked me if I was 18. And I said yes.
Two
What
times she said 18. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
No, three times because the mama said it first.
Knowing she was lying.
Okay.
what was the defendant's demeanor when he saw the officers at the hotel room door?
He was very anxious and scared.
Objection.
overruled.
So how can she say
Okay.
how he was?
Exactly.
Mm.
Okay, go
What
ahead.
what led you to the conclusion that he was anxious and scared?
Because after he looked through the peephole, he made me go in the restroom immediately and told me to get dressed. And he said, "Are you 18?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Don't lie to me." And I said, "Yes."
Mm.
Next question.
Wow.
Hmm.
Then go to the
Wow.
Did you then go to the restroom and get dressed?
I did, yes.
And then what did the defendant do?
He opened the door and he spoke to them, and he was more relaxed.
And what, if anything, did you do when the officers were at the door and speaking with the defendant?
Once I came out of the restroom, I then saw them, and they had spoken to me and said that they had been looking for me because my parents could not get in touch with me.
How did you respond?
I told them that I had put my phone in airplane mode, and I was, and as I said that, I was turning my phone on. And then I had to call my parents in front of them and let them know that I was okay. And I also had to show them my ID.
Are you seeing this, y'all? Y'all
Yeah,
hearing
this must be the part out of the hotel.
this? He's supposed to run out the
No.
hotel room according to him, right?
Yeah.
In the
Mm.
back. Okay.
And what, if anything, did you say about your age?
I did say that I was 18.
What, if anything else, did the officers say during that encounter?
Basically, after they did check my ID, they left and they had given the defendant a card and said anytime he was in Orlando and needed security to let them know.
Now, remember, he said that the officers drug her out of the hotel room. Remember
Yep.
that?
Mm.
That's what he said.
And
Mm.
another thing, they're in a hotel probably up on one of the floors, right? Ain't no back door.
Mm-mm. It sure isn't.
Ain't no back door.
Now you said that you showed the officers your identification, your ID. Did you show them your true identification?
Yes, it was my driver's license.
But
No,
he said on that thing
full
yesterday was her school ID she showed.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mm. What
Y'all,
was the guy named yesterday
look
doing all this lying?
right.
her dad.
The
What
pappy.
was his name? What's his name? Well, you
Angelo.
ain't got to say his name, huh?
Angelo.
Oh, Angelo. Call in line, Angelo. Your table's ready. Table for line, Angelo.
Hello.
Table for one.
Hello.
Oh,
And based on your identification, how old were you? How old did it show that you were?
17 years old.
what
Did the
identification did you use, lady?
Mm.
her
Mm.
Driver's license.
remember?
No, I'm saying she had to use a fake ID or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they asked her, is it real? And she said, yeah, but it said 18.
No, but if so, what I'm thinking that happened was the year. Okay, so if it's what month is this? In April?
But she's December.
This is
Yeah, but they probably only looked at the year. So if they looked at
No,
the
your
year,
parents are saying that they're asking you about your age. They're gonna look at the
exactly
whole age on
yeah,
it.
verify.
No,
Mhm.
let's not
They
do that
probably just didn't know
because
how to add.
now if you asking her age, they saying 17-year-olds in the room with this man. They're gonna look at the
Mhm.
birthday, the whole birthday.
Exactly.
yeah, you would think they would.
And you would think that they's like, well, your parents are on the way. They're not gonna leave you an underage child or a girl in a room for grown men in a hotel room anyway.
Mm-mm.
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 No, no, no.
And that, but he claimed that the police officer came, took her out the room and took her downstairs,
Well,
Yeah.
He
If I
actually said dragged her out of there.
dragged her.
and if I remember correctly, in one of the sidebars, they said something about that they didn't. The prosecution is the one that didn't want the parents brought up, not the defense.
It was the
right,
prosecution.
because you trap them all in these lies.
And he's trying to stay with the defense.
Mm.
No, it was the defense wanted them. Judge ruled that the parents, it wasn't that the parents didn't have to testify.
Yep.
But they knew they were gonna get trapped in a lot of lies.
Yep. No, I forgot where we're at.
We were
Line
on.
3, 795.
Did
Mm-hmm.
the officers then leave?
Hmm?
Line
Did
4.
did the officers then leave?
They did, yes.
What happened after the officers left?
The defendant wanted to proceed because he still needed to come.
Now, Steve's supposed to be drugged downstairs. How did all this happen?
Exactly.
And by
Mhm.
do you mean ejaculate?
Yes, I do.
What happened then?
We persisted, and then I guess it's supposed to be he persisted, and then he made me get back on top of him backwards, and then he ejaculated.
What happened after the defendant ejaculated?
After he ejaculated, I was able to put back on my clothes, and he did allow me to sing.
What did you sing for the defendant?
I sung Mama Knows Best by Jessie J, which was a ballad.
How, if at all, did the defendant react after you sung for him?
He seemed very impressed, and he said I had a great voice and that I had a lot of potential.
What, if any, future plans did you make with the defendant that evening?
He did say that he would like to see me again and teach me a few techniques.
You testified earlier that when you saw the defendant perform at that concert in Orlando, he was performing as part of a tour. Did you learn what types of venue the defendant was performing at as part of that tour?
Yes, it was the stadium shows and a lot of outdoor festivals
And where were those shows?
in multiple cities and states.
Throughout the country?
Yes,
Now, at either the Dolphin Hotel where you first met the defendant or in the few days thereafter, what, if any, plans did you make with the defendant?
he had to leave, and that once he left, he would want me to come out to the next city that he was in.
Oh yeah, and remember he said that he missed a concert, or he was, what did he say, he was late for a concert because he turned around to meet Azriel. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And and did you continue to communicate with him by phone?
I did, yes,
How?
via text message and phone calls.
After you met with the defendant at the Dolphin Hotel, did your mother continue to text the defendant pretending to be you, as far as you know, at least?
She did not know.
Now, in the few days after you met the defendant, do you recall sending the defendant a video?
I do.
What video did you send the defendant?
The defendant had asked me to send a video of my singing in my underwear and bra.
And did you do that?
I did, yes.
I sure would like to see the dates on that.
Exactly.
Did you, what, if any, other videos did you send the defendant?
I sent him videos of me dancing, singing, and more videos of me performing.
Did you send the defendant any professional videos of you?
I did, yes.
What did you send him?
I sent him my unreleased single that my parents had paid for, and for I had asked him for his input and his opinion.
What was the name of the release single that you had sent him?
The single was called Liar Liar.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I send it to the defendant.
Well, it was going to be my first single release, and I had just got back the final edit, and I genuinely wanted his input.
And who had, you said you performed on that video? Is that correct?
It was more like a music video, so it was like me and friends from high school. It was shot professionally.
And how did the defendant respond to the video after you sent it to him?
He liked it. He said that he did like it and that it was cut and that it wasn't, too groom or too sexy, too grown or too sexy, and that he liked it.
Now you said that the defendant proposed seeing you again at another stop on his tour. Is that right?
He did, yes.
Did the defendant explain to you how you would get to the next stop on his tour?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He had given me a number and told me specifically what to text to that number.
And what did you tell you, what did he tell you to text to that particular number?
He told me to say, Mr. Kelly said to get me to whatever city that he was in at the time.
But you know something, he was under the impression that she was 18 at this time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall the first state that you traveled to see the defendant?
I do not.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 233C. Does reviewing 33C refresh your recollection as to where you first traveled to see the defendant?
It does, yes.
What state did you travel to?
I traveled to California,
And what city in California?
Los Angeles.
Woo woo.
Now, approximately, when did you take this trip?
I took this trip on the 28th of April.
And was that in 2015?
Yes.
Were you still finishing your junior year in high school when you took this trip?
Yes, I was.
Okay, now hold on. For her to take that trip, someone had to approve that. A parent had to approve that.
Not if she had a
Yeah.
lying ID that says she was 18.
Right. She's 18 as far as everybody know.
Yeah, but to get on the plane.
Yeah, and it says, I was just researching that if you're under 18, you have to have a letter of consent from your parents to fly. Children under 15 or age traveling alone must be accompanied with a consent letter.
17, you can fly by yourself, guys.
17, you can?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
My daughter used to fly by herself at 17.
Oh,
You can fly by yourself, but can she purchase the ticket and do all that by herself?
No, I purchased their ticket, but they flew by themselves.
I mean, they can fly by themselves, but someone over 18. Okay.
Yeah, somebody.
But this is how they got in with the Mann Act for her.
Yeah.
But y'all also got to
But
remember.
she was 18 lying, so they still charged him with the Mann Act even though they knew she was lying.
Y'all also got to remember there is an interview out there with the mother saying that she purchased her tickets.
Ah.
Okay, well,
where's that petition again?
We need that petition.
Yeah, get the parents arrested.
We don't have enough signature on the petition, guys.
I think we short
Get
400 or something.
No, we need to get thousands of that one.
Oh, I thought it was said 15. It was like at 1,031 or something.
Yeah,
I
and
just read it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Were you still finishing your junior year in high school when you took this trip?
Yes, I was.
Did you take more trips to see the defendant on this tour?
I did, yes.
While you were still in your junior year of high school, generally speaking, what days would you travel to see the defendant?
I would usually travel the weekend, but sometimes it would go over and lead into Monday.
And would you miss days of school as a result of this?
Yes, I would.
Now, why would the parents allow that?
Exactly.
You testified that the defendant told you to send a text message to someone to arrange travel. Who did you understand you were sending a text message to?
It was an assistant.
An assistant who worked for the defendant?
Yes.
Did you learn her name?
Her name was Cheryl Mack.
The same woman that was stealing and lying.
They did the script for Lifetime.
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 38. Do you recognize Government Exhibit 38?
I do, yes.
What is Government Exhibit 38?
That was his assistant in the year 2015.
What was her name?
Cheryl Mack.
Government offers Government's Exhibit 38.
Any objection?
None.
I just don't recall. Did you offer up the other exhibit as well?
I'm about to.
Do you object?
No.
Okay. That's in evidence also.
Thank you. So what, if any, information did you provide to Cheryl Mack when you first sent her a text message asking to arrange your travel?
I said to her the city that I was currently departing from, and I sent her my birth date.
And who did you understand would pay for the travel to Los Angeles to see the defendant?
The defendant.
You testified that you provided your name and your birth date, correct?
Yes, I did.
Did you provide your true birth date?
Yes, I did.
Showing that you were 17 years old.
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury only Government's Exhibit 233C, which is now in evidence?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what is shown in 233C?
It is me letting her know what city I am leaving from, which is Orlando. And then me sending her my birthday stating 12/30/1997.
Are these text messages that you exchanged with Cheryl Mack?
Yes, it is.
Why didn't she never tell him that she was only 17? Why didn't Cheryl Mack, as his employee? The setup is real.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the dates of these text messages?
It is April the 28th, 2015.
Without reading your name in line 6802, can you read that first line where my pen is pointing, indicating?
Yes. Mr. Kelly said to get me to LA an early flight. My name is Jane. I'm in Orlando, Florida currently.
And did Cheryl Mack then arrange for you to travel from Orlando, Florida to Los Angeles the following day?
Yes, she did.
I'm showing the witness what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 217. Do you recognize 217?
I do.
No objection. I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
All right. That's in evidence.
May we publish to the jury only?
Yes.
What is Government's Exhibit 217?
It is a flight ticket from Orlando to LA.
And is this for a flight on April 29th of 2015?
It is, yes.
And is this for yourself?
Yes.
And was this ticket booked by the defendant's assistant, Cheryl Mack?
Yes, it was.
Did you see the defendant when you arrived in LA, like during that trip?
I did, yes.
Now, do you remember where you first saw him during the trip?
No.
So even if you don't remember where you first saw him, where do you recall seeing him while you were in LA?
In the hotel and at his shows.
Did you attend his show in LA while you were there?
I did, yes.
And you said you also saw him at the hotel.
Yes.
What happened at the hotel room where you saw the defendant?
He did express that he wanted to teach me a few techniques. However, he needed to ejaculate again before doing anything.
And when you say that he said that he wanted to teach you a few techniques, What type of techniques did you understand him to be referring to?
Musical techniques to help me better myself.
As a singer.
Yes.
What happened after he said that?
After he said that, he we did the same thing, and he did, in fact, give me a few techniques.
And when you said you did the same thing, what are you referring to?
Oral sex. He needed to ejaculate before anything.
Did he give you oral sex?
Objection.
Overruled.
Of course.
I don't remember. I believe, well, like eating my butt, yes.
Gosh.
So you done went from licking to eating it.
Exactly.
Are you saying you don't remember
How do you eat a butt?
Exactly.
it's the new thing now with
Wait a minute,
Like
how do you eat a
groceries.
butt?
But
Like
yeah,
groceries.
but
You
she
lick a
needed
butt, but not eat a butt.
Like groceries.
panties and all on, just eating butt with panties on.
Get in there. See what that last week's meal was like.
Exactly.
All right.
I
I
just
mean, really.
Come on, guys, get the likes up. Get the likes up.
That is
Come
E.
on, get the
coli.
likes up.
Yeah, hit that like button.
Terry.
Hit that like button. I'm not watching, I'm reading my script. But if I'm listening to Sylvia and y'all haven't hit that like button yet, please do so. Because we got some haters in the bushes, I'm pretty sure. So let's show the support and get those likes up, please. Thank you so much. You may resume.
What line we on, y'all?
After the butt. So number 7.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no, number 6. Go at number 6.
Okay. I don't remember. I believe, well, like eating my butt, yes.
Are you saying you don't remember where specifically he gave you oral sex on what part of your body?
No, I thought you were asking like vaginally, but yes, he did give me oral sex.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly, very briefly?
Sure. Do you need the court reporter?
Hopefully not.
Well, let's have her come over just in case.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't understand. I'm objecting to questions that I think are leading. This is a very crucial witness. I think we should be getting her testimony, and the court is overruling those objections. I don't want to continue to object if you're going to overrule them, but I just need to know the rationale.
Well, my general policy is I don't look back on rulings, of course not, but I will surely explain it to you. She said that the same thing happened this time as had happened before, and the follow-up was somewhat leading, but it was based on her answer that the same thing had happened before, which she had described earlier. So while it was technically leading, it wasn't leading in a way that was unfair.
Wow.
That's the basis for my ruling. And I don't, as a practical matter, I don't understand you to be doing this either. Is that every technical violation requires some kind of a curative instruction. This witness is pretty much describing things that happen. If there's a real leading going on, I will sustain it, as I think I've done before. But I think a little bit of leading to move it along when it's already been established what she was talking about is not a problem. Leading is leading. So that's what I'm doing.
The last question was not that one that I really, the last question was not that one that I was really bothered by in terms of the court ruling. It was the question before that. I just think that there's some crucial things in terms of.
What was the topic?
I'm old, Judge. I don't remember the topic.
Not as old as I am. And I remember the topic. it was describing the nature of the sexual contact. And that's specifically why I didn't sustain the objection, because she said the same thing happened in this instance as happened in Florida. And so that, to me, is not the kind of thing that requires any kind of a curative instruction.
I wouldn't want one.
All right. So that's the basis for the ruling. So why don't we move on?
Geddes. Geddes.
Number 19, somebody.
Geddes, she sleeping?
Number 19, line 19, somebody.
Okay. 19. And I don't understand very well. Okay.
19807,
Okay.
page 807.
Got it. Okay, just one note along this line. The witness was with the defendant for 5 years.
No, she was not.
Mm-mm.
No, she was not.
No. I would
I
like
need
to
you to say objection.
Yeah.
It's from April 2015 to July 2019 is not 5 years. Where did they get those numbers from?
That's 4.
I would like to be able to lead, at least in part, so that,
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Leave it all.
So that we're not here until the end of time.
Just so that we're clear, I don't have any problems with setting time, leading to set time, but it's just when it comes to details.
That's fine.
I think we're all on the same page. Obviously, what color was the car? What street did you drive on? Those kinds of things do not do.
Are we going to get through this witness today in terms of your direct?
I sure hope so.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Next question, please.
While you were with the defendant in Los Angeles, what, if anything else, did the defendant describe to you?
Pertaining to what?
Do you recall the nature of your communication with the defendant while you were with him in Los Angeles, aside from the sexual contact that you just described?
Yes.
What were they about?
Musical conversations.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
In which he was like teaching me techniques.
And what, if any, guidelines did the defendant describe to you about the time that you might spend with the defendant?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
Oh, Lord.
I'd like to show the witness only what's been marked for identification as 233D. Does reading 233D refresh your recollection about other topics that the defendant raised while you were with him in Los Angeles?
It does, yes.
What do you recall that the defendant telling you?
He had mentioned rules.
And what did you understand? What are you referring to by rules?
It was a protocol that he went by and rules that I would have to abide by while in his presence.
What, if any, rules do you recall the defendant telling you?
Based off this piece of evidence, my wardrobe and how I had to dress.
And what do you understand the defendant to be telling you about your wardrobe?
I had worn black tights and a brown shirt, and he did not like it. He did not like it.
Objection.
Overruled. What makes you say that?
Because he had asked me to change, and that was the beginning of the very first rule that he had addressed me about.
What did he want you to change into? Did he describe the type of clothes that he preferred you to be wearing?
Something that was loose and baggy, preferable.
What, if any, other rules do you recall the defendant sharing with you on the first trip to California?
I don't recall any.
Mm.
While you were in the hotel room that you were staying, was the defendant always with you?
No, he was not.
What, if anything, do you do when the defendant was not with you in the hotel room?
I would just wait in the hotel room.
Why did you stay in the hotel room?
He he had expressed to me to let him know anytime I did leave or where I was going.
What, if anything, did you understand the defendant wanted you to call him?
He wanted me to call him daddy.
The government showing the witness again what's been marked for identification as 233D, which you were just previously looking at. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes, I do.
Generally, what is it?
This is a conversation between me and my mother.
And what is the date of the conversation?
April 29th, 2015.
And generally speaking, what are you guys talking about?
I'm telling her that he is talking about rules and that he told me to change.
Wow. Okay. The government offers 233D.
Any objection?
No.
Okay. That would be in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
All right. And where my pen is indicating, is that where you were telling your mother that the defendant was talking about rules?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked as identification as 233E. Do you recognize what's shown in 233E?
I do, yes.
Generally speaking, what are those?
This is a conversation between me and my mother.
And what is the date of the conversation?
April 29th, 2015.
And are these text messages between you and your mother?
Yes, they are.
And what are you discussing with your mother in those text communication?
I am expressing to her that he has me in sweats.
The government offers 233. One question. Who are you referring to when you say he has you in sweats?
The defendant.
The government offers 233E.
Any objection?
No.
Okay. That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Okay. And can you read the text messages where my pen is pointing?
Yes. But he got me in sweats.
And who wrote that text message?
I sent that message to my mother.
About the defendant?
Yes.
And now, can you read the message at the bottom?
He ain't like my tights showing my figure.
And again, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
Do you recall, if anything, the defendant told you about the value of your trip to LA?
No.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as 233F. Generally, what is shown in 233F?
It is basically me texting my mother about a conversation that I had with the defendant.
And what is the date of the message sent to your mom?
May the 1st, 2015.
The government offers.
Y'all notice she's not in school, right?
Right. And I
No,
mean,
not. And so how is she all the way? Oh my God.
and
She's
my
in
mom
California in
right. And
April.
just having a conversation back and forth with her mama through text.
Her
But ain't nobody
mama.
talking
She's
about
not in
school or
school.
nothing.
She just met him the 1st of April, right?
Right.
April 18th, remember?
April 18th. And
And
this
then
is
by
next
the
week. This
yeah.
is next week.
Wow. Okay.
A week or
The
so
government,
later.
yeah, the
Now,
government offers
parents
233
need to be what?
Lock
in
the hell up.
jail. Oh,
Okay,
You
sorry.
If you want me to take over, I can just fill in.
okay. The government offers 233F. You can go ahead, Getty.
No,
Okay.
let her take my spot for 1 quick second while I use the
Okay.
restroom.
Mr. Canick?
Hold on 1 second. My phone is dying. Putting the
No
charge on.
objection.
What number are we on?
We on 814, line 22.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm saying for Mr. Canick, no objection.
All right.
No objection.
Okay, cool.
All right. In evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Okay, can you just read the text message at the bottom, please?
He just texted me. He said, although he isn't with me, this wasn't a waste of a trip. He said I should take this time to try and ease my mind and soak in everything that he's been telling me. So when I actually go into the industry, I'll have a mature frame already. But I thought he wasn't helping her.
Yeah.
Right.
And the he in the text message, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
And when you reference this industry, what industry are you referring to?
The music industry.
And finally, when you said, although he isn't with me, this wasn't a wasted trip, what trip are you referring to?
Me going to LA.
Now, you initially flew to LA. Did you stay in Los Angeles or did you visit other cities during the trip?
I ended up getting stuck out there and going to multiple cities with the defendant.
How did you travel from city to city with the defendant?
He had his assistant book flights and the itinerary.
Wow. Do you know how the defendant traveled between cities?
He did express that he did not fly because of his fear and that he traveled by tour bus.
Do you remember where you went after Los Angeles?
I do not.
I'm showing the witness what's been marked for identification as 233Q. Do you recognize 233Q?
I do, yes.
What is shown there?
It's a conversation between me and his assistant, Cheryl, and I'm telling her exactly what the defendant told me to say.
Which is what?
That Mr. Kelly said to get me to Stockton, California.
I thought you didn't know. Okay. And what is the date in those text messages between you and Cheryl Mack?
Yeah.
What are the dates of those text messages? I'm sorry.
May 1st of 2015.
The government offers 233Q.
Any objection?
None.
But
all right. That's in evidence.
She met him April 18th. And she's already touring with him or going to see him on May 1st.
On 28th of April was the first. That's when she flew out.
Oh, yeah.
After reviewing 232, do you recall where you went after Los Angeles?
To Stockton, California.
And who made those travel reservations for you?
His assistant, Cheryl.
Now, do you remember where you stayed in Stockton?
I do not.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as 233R. What is 233R?
It is Cheryl sending me itinerary for where I would be staying.
In Stockton, California?
Yes.
The government offers 233R.
Any objection?
Nope.
That's in evidence.
Where were you going to be staying when you were going to be staying in Stockton?
At the restaurant.
Okay. Now, do you remember what you did once you arrived in Stockton, California?
I do not.
Why were you in Stockton, California?
I was there to see the defendant for a show that he had.
And did you go to the show in Stockton?
Yes, I did, yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 220. The witness only. Do you recognize 220?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is a ticket stub.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That is a ticket stub of the show that I went to in California, Stockton.
Geddes, can you finish real quick? I need to pause. Go ahead.
Yep. And is that also dated May 1st of 2015?
It is, yes.
The government offers 220.
No objection.
Okay. That's in evidence.
Now, after the concert, do you recall seeing the defendant that evening?
I do, yes.
And do you remember what your hotel room looked like where you stayed in Stockton?
Yes, I do. I remember that the room was a suite that had a fireplace in it.
And
Hmm.
what, if anything, do you recall happening? Do you see the defendant? Did you see the defendant at the hotel room
I did, yes.
in Stockton, California?
I did, yes.
What do you recall happening in the hotel room in Stockton, California?
This was the first time that I had vaginal penetration with the defendant.
Now, you know that they told her to say that because most girls would say sex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vag-
Exactly.
Who's gonna say vaginal penetration?
Exactly.
Yeah, ain't that something
Exactly.
Really? Come on
interesting?
now.
But
Oh, I have vaginal penetration.
exactly.
yeah, you know that was coached.
Yeah. And before they left LA, now you're a minor. Your mama, you texted to your mama. He gone, but you in a hotel room by yourself.
Hmm.
And the mama ain't worried, ain't nothing.
Oh, I ain't sent for you to bring you back home.
And why would the mother be okay with him telling her how to dress?
And
Mhm.
the killer thing is, you just met him, like we said, on April the 18th, allegedly at the concert. Now he's flying you out about 11 days later. This is y'all first official flight together, and no parent is with you. Come on, man.
No,
This
but
ain't-
remember the father said she was with him all that time, with the parents all the time. She didn't leave until September. Remember, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
Mhm.
This ain't making sense.
Mhm.
I mean, you just letting her just go with anybody. You don't know him.
Don't know
Yeah.
him.
And
Yeah.
supposedly her mental state was all screwed up because didn't she just try to commit suicide?
Hmm. Hmm.
This is just
Good
amazing.
point.
Yep.
That just
Okay.
vaginal penetration. What do you mean?
We had sexual intercourse.
Was the defendant's penis inside your vagina?
Really?
Yes, it
Oh my
was.
God.
Mm.
Or what, if any, type of contraception did the defendant use to your knowledge?
He used none.
And what, if anything, did the defendant tell you about any sexually transmitted diseases that he had?
He never mentioned anything of that nature to me.
Now, how is it that you recall that was the first time that you had sexual intercourse with the defendant?
I remember because the room that we were in, it had a kitchenette in it and it had a fireplace. And I had never been in a room that had a fireplace before in a suite.
But
How you know it was a suite then if you never been in there?
Exactly.
And your daddy was a millionaire, remember?
right.
Mhm.
Do you recall what city you traveled to after Stockton, California?
I believe I went to Las Vegas.
And I am showing the government's exhibit 253A. Do you recognize 253A?
I do.
What is that?
It is my flight confirmation to Sacramento.
And
That
does
ain't
it show,
Vegas.
so and does it show? So I'm sorry. Can you say what the flight travel plans was there?
Yeah, it was me departing and going to Las Vegas. Yes.
So leaving Sacramento and going to Las Vegas.
Yes.
And who arranged the travel for you?
The defendant's assistant.
Was that Cheryl Mack?
Yes, it was.
The government offers 253A and asks that it be published to the jury only, please. Can
No
it?
objection. No objection. Allow the
Okay.
debate.
Okay. That's in evidence.
Now, do you remember the hotel that you were staying in when you got to Las Vegas?
Yes, I do.
What hotel was that?
I was staying at Mandalay Bay.
And do you recall what you did that first evening on May 2nd, 2015, when you arrived to Las Vegas?
Yes, I did what I wanted to go shopping and get food.
And did you try to go shopping?
I did, yes.
What did you do?
I believe I had texted his assistant asking where the nearest mall was.
And when you say his assistant, who are you referring to?
Cheryl,
The defendant's assistant?
yes.
And how did the defendant's assistant respond when you asked for the nearest mall?
She asked me had I let him know that I was leaving my room.
And by letting him know, what him are you referring to?
The defendant.
How did you respond?
I told her no, I hadn't.
Do you recall how the defendant's assistant responded when you said you had not told the defendant that you planned to go shopping?
I do not.
All right, I want to start by showing the government's exhibit 233I. Do you recognize 233I?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is a text message that I sent to my mother.
On what date?
May 3rd, 2015.
Day number 6.
Yep. The government offers 233I.
God, I lost my page. What page we on?
822, line number
25.
25.
20, okay. No objection.
That's in evidence.
Can we publish, please?
Yes.
Can you read the text message that you sent to your mom?
Yes. It says, everyone having fun. And Kel said, do not leave the room.
Who's Kel?
The defendant.
Is that a nickname for the defendant?
Yes.
I'm showing, and what are you referring to when you said Kel said do not leave the room?
My hotel room, meaning I could not leave.
What did her mom say?
That's what I'm saying.
And who told you you couldn't leave?
The defendant.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as 233J. I'm sorry, I'm showing the witness only what's been marked as 233G. Do you recognize 233G?
Yes.
What is shown in 233G?
This is a conversation between me and his assistant, Cheryl.
And what is the conversation about?
Me wanting to go to the mall.
Is this the conversation you were just described a moment ago?
Yes, it is.
The government offers 233G.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Can you read to the jury the text in corresponding to this entry 5837?
It says, read the text before it or after it.
You can just read the first text 5837 right over here.
It says, trying to figure it out. Mr. Kelly, okay, with you going out of your room, it's very hectic out.
Now, who wrote that text message?
His assistant,
Which assistant?
Cheryl.
Cheryl Mack?
Yes.
And how did you respond in the next text message? Can you read that out loud?
I said, I didn't ask him, and if you can't get it, it's fine. I'll just chill inside because the taxi lines are hectic. Thank you for your help.
And is there a response from Miss Mack?
Yes.
What does she say?
She says, oh, okay. Yeah, we will need to make sure it's okay. It's very, very hectic. I can get McDonald's to you No problem.
And when Cheryl Mack wrote, "We will need to make sure it's okay," what did you understand her to mean by that?
She would have needed to make sure with the defendant before I could leave my room.
Who, if anyone else, do you recall meeting when you were in Las Vegas?
I remember meeting a young man who he said was a friend of his.
A young woman.
A young woman.
Oh, sorry, a young woman.
Do you remember her nickname?
Yes, Juice.
Where did you meet Juice?
I met Juice in Las Vegas.
And do you remember where in Las Vegas?
Yes, I believe I was. He had told me to come down to the lobby, and that is when I initially met her. She was already down there.
And what, if anything, did you and Juice do together when you met her?
We went shopping.
But he didn't buy her nothing, remember?
Mm.
He was sending clothes. And do you recall what you did the night before you went shopping?
Yes, we went to his show together.
And who are you referring to when you say we there?
Defendant.
And who are you referring to when you say we there? I'm sorry,
Uh,
but who went to
me and Juice.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you say to you when you went to the concert together?
When she had come to knock on my room door, she saw my outfit and she had asked me if I really wanted to wear that and if I felt I needed to change.
And what did you understand her to be telling you?
To change my wardrobe of what I had on.
Did you understand what she would have preferred you to have worn, or what she...
Objection.
Sustained.
I'm
Sustained.
I am sure witnessed what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 221. Do you recognize 221?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is a ticket stub from his show in Las Vegas.
Is that the concert that you attended with Juice?
Yes, it is.
The government offers 221.
No objection.
Okay.
Okay, that's in evidence.
Now you said that the following day you went shopping with Juice. Do you recall where you went shopping?
It was a mall and the hotel, so we didn't go far.
And who, if anyone, did you see while you were shopping?
We actually ended up meeting up with the defendant while shopping.
And what did you do after shopping?
I then went back to my hotel room.
Who, if anyone, was in the hotel room when you went back there?
Juice came back to my hotel room with me.
And at some point, was there anyone else in your hotel room?
Yes, the defendant then came hours later.
And what happened when the defendant came into your hotel?
I had been texting him asking if Juice could leave because she was just sleeping and if she could go back to her own hotel room. And
How did the defendant respond?
he actually said that he wanted to come and he wanted to have sex.
And what did you do?
I told him I declined because Juice was still in the room, and I told him it was something I was not comfortable with.
And so, where were you and the defendant in the room?
We were on the side of the bed, and Juice was sitting on the couch sleeping.
And so, what happened next?
He told me it wasn't a big of a deal, and that she was asleep, and that it would basically be fast.
What happened?
And then we had vaginal intercourse.
And what, if anything, did Juice do while you were engaging in sexual activity with the defendant?
She had her back towards us, and she didn't do anything.
What happened after that?
After he had come, he said, "See, I told you." And then he called Juice's name and told her to go to her hotel room, and she left.
And Juice then left the hotel room?
Yes.
And that trip to California that you just described, was that all while you were 17 years old?
Yes, it was.
While you were in your junior year of high school, did you see the defendant again in Florida?
Yes, I did.
Where did you see him? Where in Florida?
I saw him in Jacksonville.
Why were you in Jacksonville?
I was actually in Key West because I had a show that was not far from there.
And by show, what do you mean?
I had my own performance that I was doing for a breast cancer awareness.
What did you do? So, how did you end up meeting the defendant in Jacksonville?
My show actually ended a lot earlier than I anticipated, and because he was in Jacksonville, I did want to surprise him and tell him how well my show went.
Who, if anyone, were you with?
I was with my mother.
By the way, what, if anything, did the defendant ask you to do at your show?
He told me to send him pictures and videos of me performing.
I am showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as 233M. Do you recognize 233M?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It is a conversation between me and my mother.
So how come she ain't getting charged with the Mann Act?
Hmm.
And what are
Hmm.
you talking about?
I'm basically saying he had wanted someone to record my show and that he said, good luck.
And when you say he, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
And what was the date of this conversation?
May 8th, 2015.
The government offers 233M.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
And may we publish?
Yes. Is Tanya back? I need to take a break for a minute.
No, go ahead. Take a break. We'll keep going.
Okay.
Can you read that last text message on the bottom and first let the jury know who wrote that text message?
I wrote that text message and it says, just was asking how my day went and he can't wait to see me and good luck tonight. He wants someone to record it so I can send it to him and stuff like that.
And again, who are you referring to in that text message?
The defendant.
You may have already said this, but who were you with when you were in Jacksonville initially?
I was with my mother.
And do you remember where in Jacksonville you and your mom went?
I remember that he was staying at the Omni.
Is that a hotel?
Yes.
Hey, Sylvia.
Yes.
Pastor Peter's on over there. What happened when you went to the Omni? Did you then go to the Omni?
We did.
What happened there?
We got there after his show had ended, and I believe all the hotels were booked up at that time. And we did see the defendant.
And what, if any, communication did you have with the defendant's assistants that day?
She had expressed to us that all the hotels were booked. And so she was going to give me and my mother her hotel room and book another further and book at a further location.
I am showing the witness what's been marked for identification as 233N. Do you recognize 233N?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It is a text message between me and Cheryl, his assistant.
And what are the dates? What is the date of this communication, this conversation?
May 8th, 2015.
The government offers 233N.
No objection.
Okay.
Okay, in evidence.
Did you in fact get a hotel that night in Jacksonville?
We did, yes.
How many hotel rooms did you and your mom get?
I told his assistant that me and my mom only needed one room.
How did the defendant's assistant respond?
She responded by saying that she would get us multiple rooms.
And where did you end up staying that night?
I ended up staying in the defendant's hotel room.
Do you recall what, if anything, happened between you and the defendant that evening?
Yes, we were intimate.
And by intimate, what do you mean?
We had vaginal penetration.
You testified earlier about a trip to Los Angeles, Stockton, California, and Las Vegas. Did you travel again to see the defendant after that trip?
I believe so, yes.
I just got to point this out. The mom knew she was in the defendant's room. What did she think that they was doing?
Hmm. She know.
I mean, seriously, we're all moms here and a dad, but would you take your daughter and let her stay in a man's room?
Hell no.
Me neither.
Mhm.
First of all, she wouldn't even be there, so.
Exactly.
But let's continue.
Okay. How would you get to those locations?
His assistant will book the entire itinerary.
And what type of travel was it?
Flight.
Who do you understand ultimately was paying for that travel?
The defendant.
Now, do you remember all the dates and locations that you traveled to meet the defendant in the spring of 2015?
I do not know.
All right, I want to direct your attention to May 15th of 2015. Do you recall where you traveled in or around that day?
No.
I am showing the witness what's been marked for identification as 233S. What is 233S? Do you recognize that?
It is a conversation between me and Cheryl, his assistant.
And what is the date of the conversation?
May 15th.
The government offers 233S.
Any objections?
None.
Okay, that's in evidence.
Where were you? Where were you arranging to, or where were you hoping to go on or around May 15th of 2015?
Yeah, he had told me to tell her to get me to Atlanta.
And by he, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
And can you read the top text message?
Mr. Kelly said to get me to Atlanta, Georgia on Monday.
And then I want to direct your attention to May 21st of 2015. Do you recall where, if anywhere, you were traveled in or around that day?
I do not.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 2. What's shown in 233T.
I do.
Generally speaking, what are those? What is it?
It is a text conversation between me and his assistant, Cheryl.
And what is the date of the text communication?
May 20th, 2015.
And what are you and Cheryl discussing in those text messages?
That he had wanted me to get to San Diego.
And by he, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
Government offers 233T.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
Can you just read for the jury that top text message?
Mr. Kelly said to get me to San Diego tomorrow morning.
And who wrote the text?
I sent that text message.
To Cheryl Mack?
I did, yes.
Did Cheryl Mack then arrange travel for you to get to San Diego?
Yes.
What, if any, sexual contact did you have with the defendant during that trip to California?
We had vaginal penetration.
During that trip to California, what, if any, contraception did the defendant use?
None.
And prior to you having sexual contact with the defendant, what, if anything, did he tell you about sexually transmitted diseases that he had?
He never expressed anything of that nature.
You testified earlier that you were finishing or you were in your junior year of high school when you took those trips.
Yes.
When the school year ended, what, if anything, did you do for that summer?
I was in Chicago with the defendant.
And at the time, where was the defendant living?
In Chicago.
Now, you testified earlier about a telephone number that you got for the defendant on April 18, 2015. Was that the only telephone of his that you communicated with?
No. He had multiple phone numbers.
Do you recall the other telephone numbers that the defendant had?
No, he had multiple phone numbers. I'm sorry. I do not know them all by heart. No.
Do you know how many other telephones the defendant had?
Yes, he had 4 numbers. And initially he said that I will receive all of them when I earned his trust.
Did you eventually receive those telephone numbers?
I did, yes.
You said that you were with the defendant in Chicago. Where would you stay in Chicago that summer?
In 2015, I would stay in hotels and I would stay at the studio on Ohio Street.
Do you remember which hotels you stayed in?
I stayed in majority of them were downtown. The Intercontinental, the W.
In downtown Chicago?
Yes.
You also mentioned that you stayed at the studio. What type of studio was that?
It was a business. And in the studio, he had one room that had a master bedroom in it.
And where was the studio located?
It was located in a business office on the top floor.
Do you recall the street that it was on? You may have already said.
Ohio Street.
And was that downtown Chicago?
It was, yes.
Was there a bathroom inside the defendant's studio on Ohio Street?
There was not.
If you wanted to use the bathroom, where would you go?
I would have to get in touch with him before I could go to the one that was for the public.
And where was that located?
It was outside of the studio on the 6th floor.
Now, was the defendant's studio also on the 6th floor?
It was, yes.
I am showing the witness what's been marked for identification as 505C and 505B, as in boy. Do you recognize 505C?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the business office in which he had a studio on in one of the business suites.
And I am showing you what's been marked for identification as 505B, as in boy. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that is the main entrance.
The government offers 505B and C.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
And I am showing 505C. Do you recall you said that the defendant was on the 6th floor? Which floor is that in the building?
So, just on the 6th floor, when you go upstairs, his unit was to the right. It was the first right that you make.
And was that the top floor?
Yes, it was.
Now, when you started spending time in the studio on Ohio Street, what, if any, rules did you learn that the defendant wanted you to follow while you were in the studio?
Oh, I could not leave a room without calling him or an assistant and asking.
And how did you learn that rule?
He had told me not to leave the room without calling him or getting in touch with his assistant.
And I asked you earlier about where the bathroom was located.
Yes.
What if, were you always able to get in touch with the defendant when you needed to use the bathroom?
No.
What would you do if you weren't able to get in contact with the defendant?
I had to urinate in a cup.
Where were the cups?
They would get cups like extra large cups from the gas station, and in the master bedroom there was tissue paper and baby wipes.
Now, other than in Chicago, where did you regularly see the defendant during those summer months after your junior year?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, during the summer after your junior year, you testified that you would see the defendant in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was leading. Where
Hmm.
were there other cities that were you regularly saw the defendant that summer?
Atlanta.
And where in Atlanta would you see the defendant?
I would see him in hotels, and he had expressed to me that he had a home in Atlanta, Georgia.
Did you go to that home in Atlanta, Georgia?
I did, yes.
I am showing the witness what's been marked for identification as government's exhibit 506. Do you recognize 506?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the big house in Atlanta.
And when you say the big house, what are you referring to?
That's just what the defendant called it.
Is that the defendant's home that you just mentioned?
Yes, it is.
The government offers 506.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
And now I'm showing you 504. They published 506. I'm sorry. I did it too quickly.
Yes.
And I'm now showing what's been marked for identification as 504. Do you recognize government exhibit 504?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the guest house.
At the time, this is where the other women who were in a
Oh,
relationship.
you're reading the wrong part.
Oh, am I?
Line
Number
25.
25.
Oh, I'm sorry. And what is the guest house?
Getting sleepy.
At this time, this is where the other woman whom he were in relationship with lived.
All right. Where in the guest house? Where is the guest house located? What city?
It is also in Atlanta, Georgia. It's about 15 minutes from the big house.
And have you been to the guest house?
I have, yes.
The government offers 504.
Any objection?
None.
That's in evidence. You can publish.
Now, when you visited the defendant in Atlanta over the summer of in 2015, where did you remember staying?
I would stay at hotels. I would stay at the big house, and I would stay at the guest house.
All right. And are those the big house and the guest house are the two houses that were just shown?
Yes,
Initially, when the defendant was on tour and you were traveling with him, how would you travel?
by flight.
And would you attend each of the defendant's concerts that you were present for?
I would, yes.
Over the summer of 2015, did you continue to have sexual contact with the defendant?
I did, yes.
Where did you have sexual contact with him? In what different locations?
We would be intimate on the sprinter, at the big house, the guest house, and hotels, wherever he wanted to.
And when you said sprinter, what are you referring to?
The sprinter van.
And when were you and the defendant on the sprinter van together?
Every day, it was our form of transportation.
And you also mentioned the big house and the guest house. Were those the two locations in Atlanta?
Yes.
How about when you were in Chicago? Where, if anywhere, would you have sexual contact with the defendant in Chicago?
At hotels and at the studio.
The studio that you previously identified on Ohio Street?
Yes.
How often would you have sexual contact with the defendant during the summer of 2015?
We had sex almost every day.
And during the course of your time with the defendant, what, if anything, did you ever notice that the defendant was doing while you were engaging in sexual contact with him?
He would basically control exactly every single time we were intimate,
And what do you mean by that he would control it?
meaning that he would say everything specifically and I would have to follow exactly what he said.
Can you give an example of that?
An example would be if he told me to walk or crawl back and forth, and that it was what I had to do until he gave the next notion.
When, if ever, did the defendant make recordings of you?
Objection.
Overruled.
Of course.
Almost immediately after meeting him,
And by making recordings of you, what was he recording you doing?
he would record us intimately.
And by intimately, what are you referring to?
Every time we had sex, he would
What?
record it.
Oops, sorry. What did he use to record that?
He used the iPads that he had.
And where did you see where the defendant kept these iPads?
He would keep them in his backpack.
How do you know? How did you learn that the defendant was making recordings of you?
When we would be intimate, he would just remove an iPad from his backpack and he would prop it on something, and the camera would be facing us so that he could see everything. And that is usually how every sexual encounter went with him.
And were you able to see at times what was being recorded?
Every time I could see what was being recorded.
And by the way, you mentioned that the defendant used iPads to record you. Were those Apple iPads?
Yes, they are.
And do you recall the first time that you noticed that the defendant was recording you engaging in sexual contact with him?
Yes.
When do you recall that happening?
It was when I was 17 years old.
And what specifically do you recall the defendant recording? What were you doing that the defendant recorded?
I recall that he made me crawl back and forth, and then he had begun to give me oral head, and then after that, we had vaginal penetration.
And when you say oral head, what specifically do you mean?
I had gave him oral sex. Hello.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And
847 line 1.
and was that your with your mouth on his penis?
Usually how it
Yes,
works.
it was.
I don't know how else that works. And did you say that was one of the things that you saw the defendant recording
Yes, it was.
with his Apple iPad?
Yes, it was.
How old were you when the defendant recorded that?
I was 17 years old.
And you also said that the defendant recorded you having sexual intercourse with the defendant. Is that right?
Yes.
With his Apple iPad?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 17 years old.
When you had sexual contact with the defendant, did he ejaculate?
Yes, he would.
Where would he ejaculate?
He would ejaculate on my face, on my chest, on my butt, and eventually he began ejaculating inside of me at 17.
Really?
Emphasizing 17.
Yeah, you see that.
When he ejaculated on your face, what would you do?
Rub it
I would
in.
usually wash it off. However, there were times where He would make me leave it on my face.
Yeah.
What
Protein.
thing do you remember about a time when he had you leave, not allow you, or you didn't wash your face immediately?
There was
Objection.
Overruled.
Of course.
there was a time where he did ejaculate on my face and he told me not to wash it off and to let it harden. And I do recall him having his wardrobe stylist come in and have an entire conversation with her while I had his hardened semen on my face. And I recall them laughing and I felt very much humiliated. And I
Mm,
got up and I went to the washroom and washed it off my face.
mm,
Now, according to them, if she got up and went in the washroom and washed, wouldn't that result in a punishment, or what do they call that?
Rules, breaking the rules, or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
mhm.
a spanking.
I want to know if Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name, who was Epstein, whatever his name is,
Jeffrey Epstein.
yeah,
Mhm.
assistant, and they charged her because she booked the girls and got the girls.
Mhm.
Why didn't they charge
Mhm.
Cheryl Mack? Because you don't see him buying
Mhm.
no flights. It's Cheryl
Mhm.
Mack.
Mhm.
And then she didn't tell him that that girl was 17. That's right.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know his stylist name?
Cash Howard.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 68. I'm sorry, 86. Do you recognize 86?
Yes, I do.
Who is who is that?
That is his wardrobe stylist.
Is that Cash Howard?
Yes, it is.
The government offers 86.
No objection.
It's in evidence. You can publish it.
Now, you testified earlier about a time where the defendant recorded you engaging in sexual contact. Where would these recordings take place?
They would take place anywhere that he wanted to have sex. So if we were in the Sprinter, if we were in a hotel, if we were in Atlanta or Chicago, in the studio, wherever we were.
And did the defendant record you engaging in sexual contact using his iPad in Chicago
Yes, he did.
while you were 17?
Yes, he did.
And how about in Atlanta
Yes, he did.
while you were 17?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
Did you ever see what was on the recordings that the defendant made?
Of course.
I had only seen what he would show me or what he would when he would prop the camera up when I could see us.
Now, did they ever submit these recordings?
No, that's what I'm talking about.
So
They
no, it's
showing pictures of hotel rooms and picture of this text message, but what are videos of him recording her and him having sex and all
Mhm.
this stuff? Since
right.
like Nancy say,
Mm.
she say until she can present evidence to me.
Yeah, they're just going by hearsay.
You say, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, what, if anything, do you recall about when the defendant would show you recordings that had been made of you?
He would only allow me to see about 5 to 10 seconds if he was playing it back, and it was of me and him, and he would boost or compliment how good we looked.
Of course, because it's her. Of
Mhm.
course. This makes me so upset. I mean, it's
It
costing
really is.
life. That's just ridiculous. Do you recall
Okay.
how old you were when the recordings were made that the defendant showed you and boasted about?
Yes, I was 17 years old.
During she's had a lot of sex at 17 for
Mhm.
17
Yeah.
for a short
Come
period.
on, y'all. Let's keep moving. This is so long.
During the summer of
No, I'm
2015,
getting sleepy.
did there come a time when you traveled to Connecticut?
Yes, there was.
Why did you go to Connecticut?
I believe he had a couple of shows that he had missed and had to make up for.
Where were the shows? What type of venue?
I believe there were casinos, arenas, and stadiums and festivals.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said a casino. What do you mean by that?
Well, like previously, the show in Las Vegas, that was at a casino.
Okay. Do you recall the specific venue for the show in Connecticut that you went to in the summer of 2015?
I do not.
Okay. And do you recall whether or not you had sexual contact with the defendant when you traveled with him to Connecticut in the summer of 2015?
We were intimate.
By intimate, what do you mean?
We had vaginal penetration.
Did you ever contract or a sexually transmitted disease?
I did.
How old how old were you when that happened?
I was 17.
What if any symptoms did you first notice?
I was every single time we would have vaginal penetration, I would have discomfort in my pelvis and in my lower abdomen. And I had expressed to him.
To the
I,
defendant?
yes, I did.
How did he respond?
Initially, he would joke and say that it was just because he was too big size wise, and then he would try and comfort me, and he would give me warm washcloths to place on my stomach, and he would try to massage my stomach.
Did your symptoms subside?
They did not.
What did you do?
They got worse actually, and I got to the point where I couldn't physically even walk.
What did you do?
I had to make a doctor's appointment, which he had juice book.
You mentioned juice. Are you referring to the woman you met in Las Vegas?
Yes,
And when you said he had juice book, who were you referring to? The he and that.
the defendant.
Did you then meet with the doctor?
I did, yes.
What, if anything, did the doctor diagnose you with?
She said that I had contracted an STD, herpes,
Did she tell you what type of herpes you had?
vaginal herpes.
What, if any, medications did she prescribe for you?
She had given me she had given me a few prescriptions actually, and I had told her that I wanted the most expensive one to elevate the pain to
Okay.
ugh,
Alleviate.
alleviate the pain as quickly as possible.
Did you get those prescriptions filled?
Yes, juice was with me.
Where did you go?
We went to Walgreens
In downtown? Where?
in downtown Chicago.
And I'm sorry, where was the doctor located?
Downtown Chicago.
Mhm.
How did you feel once you learned that you had contracted herpes?
I was devastated.
What, if any, conversation did you have with the defendant after you learned that you had contracted herpes?
I had told him, and he was agitated and said that I could have gotten it from anyone.
What did you say?
I told him that I had only been intimate with him.
That's where that was at. What, if anything, did the defendant then say about whether he had previously been diagnosed with an STD or a sexually transmitted disease?
He never did.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
He never did.
Thank you.
You said you felt devastated. Can you explain why you felt that way?
Oh, I, f- I felt that this man had purposely given me something that he knew he had, a situation he could have controlled.
I'm just saying, real quick. The way she acts so hype, if this is true, she would have tried fighting his ass. I mean,
Exactly. And
what?
you didn't text your mom and tell her?
Right,
Gave you herpes?
right.
Ma'am. Okay.
Did the medication make your symptoms subside?
It did.
After you initially, what, if any, future symptoms of the STD did you feel?
In the future, anytime I had an outbreak, I would only get prescriptions from him and his doctor.
Hmm.
You, in fact, have outbreak.
Somebody got mute. I did, yes, very seldom.
You said that you would get prescriptions from him. Who are you referring to?
The defendant.
Do you recall what you were given?
They were the same blue pills that the female doctor had initially given me.
Do you remember what, if anything, the defendant said when you had outbreaks after you were initially diagnosed?
Anytime that I asked him, he would usually make it like a joke, like, oh, I take one, you take one, just take one. Everyone has it. Like it's no big deal.
What, if anything, would he say about parts of your body when you had an outbreak?
He just wouldn't be intimate.
You said that you seldomly had outbreaks.
Yes.
In the beginning, how regular, how often did you have outbreaks?
In the beginning, the very first outbreak that I ever had was very intense. And every single time we tried to be intimate after that.
Objection, no response.
Overruled.
Of course.
Every time,
Every time
oh, I'm sorry.
every time we tried to be intimate after that, I would continuously get an outbreak from him. And he had expressed to me, he said, I think your pussy is broken. Lord have mercy.
And after that, did you continue to have outbreaks as well?
I had to I had to give it time to be able to be intimate with him. But after about a month, everything had gone away.
And did you have outbreaks though after that initial time?
Yes, I did.
You testified earlier about a few rules that the defendant told you during the first trip to California. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, I do.
Once you had spent a couple of months with the defendant, did you become aware of additional rules set by the defendant?
Yes, I did.
How did you become aware of those other rules?
He had expressed to he had expressed them to me, and other people around him had expressed them to me.
Like who?
His assistant, his assistants, people like Juice.
What were some of the rules that you learned about?
My wardrobe. I basically was only in sweats or oversized clothing. I couldn't leave my hotel room without getting in touch with him or asking an assistant.
How, if at all, did the defendant want you to respond when you entered a room?
He wanted me to call him daddy and immediately give him a kiss.
What, if anything, did the defendant tell you about your communications with your friends once you were spending time with the defendant?
He he was not a big fan of it, and he didn't necessarily want me talking to them about him or us.
Back when you were 17 years old and spending time with the defendant, did you have social media back then?
I did.
What types of social media did you have when you were 17 years old?
I had social media on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter.
What is Snapchat?
Snapchat is a picture and a chat app where you can accept your friends and family, and you can send them pictures and text messages that deletes after it is open forever.
And do you remember, without saying it, do you remember your username for your Snapchat account?
Yes, I do.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 949. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 949?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It is my Snapchat handle.
And can we publish this to the jury, please? Actually, I'm sorry. The government offers 949.
No objection.
Okay, that's published only to the jury.
Yes, please. What, if anything, did the defendant tell you about your use of social media at the age of 17?
How once I had moved to Chicago, he had told me to delete all my social media.
What, if any, explanation did he provide to you?
He just said that he didn't want me having social media.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 325. Do you recognize what's shown in Government's Exhibit 325?
Yes, I do.
Generally speaking, what is that?
This is basically something that I had been writing since I was 17 years old, and it is basically expresses how I need to act, think, and be when around the defendant.
And what made you think that you had to act, think, and be around the defendant in the way that is reflected in 325?
Well, these are all things that he would say to me, and I would write them down to remember.
The government offers ex- the government offers Government Exhibit 325.
No objection.
All right. That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Can you read what's shown in 325 that you wrote that you were just referring to?
Yes, it says, do not be goofy, extra, or act young when told something in private or around others. Do not play games when on phones with daddy. Just say I love you before I hang up. Continue to do what I always do around other when I am alone with daddy. Example, bless you, dad. I if he belches. Trust daddy and do whatever he says, with no rebuttal, disrespect, or rebellion. Remember how to act in the beginning, bubbly and like a child, pure with no negative intentions. And remember to stay true to who I am, humble, happy, innocent, and beautiful to daddy, reminding him of his mother and child. Tell daddy everything so he will not have to wonder and figure out what is going on with me.
When you say daddy in this note, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 331. Do you recognize what's shown in 331?
I do, yes.
What is that?
This is one of my notes that I will write that the defendant would tell me so that I can remember these things.
The government offers 331.
No
No
That's
objection.
in
objection.
it. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Can you read what's shown in 331?
It says, remember to say I will not lie or mess up at all today. Find a positive quote to say to daddy every day. If I lie, own up. Say I'm sorry and take it back right away. Do not contemplate. Be strong and be honest. Do do not be angry, prideful, selfish, or rebellious.
Say.
Say it,
Number one.
yes. Say one thing I am thankful for every day to get rid of negative thinking. Tell daddy one thing that I appreciate about him and continue to lift him up. Stop defending myself. Anything daddy says is to help me. Thank him and be happy and fix the problem. Write every day, even if it's a simple sentence, or just write a thought down.
Now, you testified earlier that when you met the defendant, you told him that you were 18 when you were, in fact, 17.
Yes.
Did there come a time when you told the defendant your true age?
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Number 17.
17. Yes, there did come a time.
How old were you when you told the defendant your true age?
I was still. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Go
Okay, I
ahead.
was still 17.
What, if anything, prompted you to tell him?
22.
Summer ended, and I had to go back to school for my senior year in high school.
In what city were you when you told the defendant?
I was in Chicago.
Do you remember where in Chicago you were? Where in Chicago you were when you told the defendant your true age?
Yes, we were in Lincoln Park.
Who was there?
The defendant and Juice were present, and of course, the driver.
You said, were you in Lincoln Park?
Yes.
Is that in downtown Chicago?
Yes, it is.
What happened?
I remember he had his old school car at the time, and we had got Al's beef, and we sat and ate hot dogs in the park. And I had to let him know that I was 17, and I was very scared. And when I told him, he slapped me in my face with an open palm, and he then walked away.
And at the time, what, if anything, did you have with you?
I believe I just had my phone.
What did you do?
I then walked away because he had walked away and he had never hit me ever before.
And what happened?
He then came back to the park to try and find me for a few hours, and I would see the sprinter circling, and I was trying to avoid him. However, it was getting really late, and I was still in a city that was not my own.
Did you eventually meet up with the defendant?
I did. He eventually saw me and called me to come with him and get back in the sprinter, and so I did.
Who, if anyone, was in the sprinter when you got back on?
Juice was on the sprinter.
And what happened when you got back on the sprinter?
He gave me a kiss and he said that we will figure this out. And him and Juice laughed, and he had made a comment saying that he thought that I was going to tell him something 10 times worse.
What did you do then?
He said that I hadn't needed to wait a minute. He said that I had needed to get on a flight immediately back to Florida, and that he would speak with his attorney to figure out everything.
Did you, in fact, return to Florida?
I did immediately on the next flight.
How long did you stay in Florida?
Not long, probably about a week.
And what did you do when you were in Florida?
He had told me exactly what to do and exactly what his attorney had said, which was that I would need to be homeschooled and living with him in Chicago.
And what, if anything, did you do after he told you that?
Both he and I convinced my parents to allow me to be homeschooled and be in Chicago so that I can learn more musically.
And when you say both he and I convinced your parents, what, if any, conversation did the defendant have with your family?
He had told them that,
Objection.
Was it in your presence?
pardon me,
Were you there when he told them whatever it is he told them?
at a later date, yes, I was.
Okay. You can only talk about conversations that you actually heard him say things. All right.
Okay,
So the objection to that is sustained.
okay.
Were you able to convince your parents, convinced that you could move to Chicago?
Objection.
Yes, they were.
Overruled.
Sorry.
That's all right. Overruled.
What, if anything, did you do to prepare for moving to Chicago?
Mm.
I had packed a I had packed a few suitcases, and my mom had given the defendant a long list of things that I would need for school, and then took the
Participating.
steps to get me enrolled into homeschooling.
But
Hmm.
yet the dad and
Hmm.
mom, sending stuff.
Hmm.
Do you recall the name of the school where you are, where you were, where you are homeschooled?
It was still for my county, which was Orange County. It was Florida Virtual Online.
And you're using the term homeschool,
Yes,
but how would you communicate with your teachers doing homeschooling?
via a laptop that the defendant had to purchase.
Were you in the presence of any of your teachers?
Not physically, no, but virtually, yes.
What, if anything, did actually? I'm going to show the witness only what's marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 475A. Do you recognize what's shown in 475A?
Yes, I do.
475A, I'm sorry. What is shown in 475A?
This is a letter that he had told me that his attorneys had needed,
Objection.
Overruled.
Of
And
course.
and it's basically saying that I would be.
Don't read it into evidence.
Hmm.
Sorry.
That's all right.
it's, oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
it's just a letter from my mother giving consent
For you to do what?
for me to be in Chicago under a woman that he had known.
And you used he a couple of times in the sentence. Who is the he that you're referring to?
The defendant,
And were you, was, what was the date that the letter was prepared?
September 19th of 2015.
How old were you then?
I was still 17.
The government offers 475A.
Any objection?
No.
All right. That's in evidence.
And I'd like to publish only to the jury and without reading the name, either yours or anyone else's. Can you please read what is shown in 475A?
It says, "We, the parents of me, give consent for me to stay with,
Another person?
yes, until 12/30/2015, December 30th, 2015. At that time, she will be under her under her care.
And who, if anyone, signed that letter?
My mother,
And what happened on December 30th of 2015?
it was my birthday,
How old were you turning that day?
18.
I'm now showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 476A. Do you recognize what's shown in Government's Exhibit 476A?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is a proper formal letter of what the previous letter was.
The one that you just read in 475A?
Yes.
And were you present for any of this letter when it was made?
Yes, I was. It had to be notarized.
And where was it notarized?
The Orange County clerk.
In Florida?
Yes.
And were you present for that?
Yes, I was.
The government offers 476A.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right. That's in evidence.
And may I just publish it to the jury briefly?
Yes.
Now, in both 475A and 476A, there's an individual listed as who would be caring for you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know the individual's daughter?
Yes, I do.
Who was the individual's daughter?
Juice.
The one that defendant introduced you to in Las Vegas?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you do with the document shown in 475A and 476A?
The defendant needed them for his attorneys.
How did you know that?
He had expressed to me that he needed it.
So what did you do?
I had given them to him when I had returned back to Chicago.
So did you, in fact, then return to Chicago?
I did, yes.
And how did you get back to Chicago?
His assistant had booked my travel.
And who paid for that?
The defendant.
Now, when you returned, do you remember, by the way, approximately when you went back to Chicago?
I do not.
You testified earlier that you told the defendant that you were, in fact, 17 because you had to get back to your senior year. Is that right?
Yes.
And when did your senior year begin?
I don't remember the exact month that it happened, and because I had been already late because I had stayed in Chicago. However, I did attend school for a week before I was pulled out of school.
Okay, do you know just approximately then what season does school start?
Fall.
Okay, and do you remember what season it was when you returned to Chicago?
Possibly September.
Okay, of 2015.
Yes.
And how old were you then?
Still 17.
Did you stay in Chicago when you returned to Chicago?
Um, we did go to Chicago and also Atlanta.
And did you go on tour with the defendant?
I did, yes.
Do you remember the name of that tour?
It was his, I believe, buffet tour.
And when you say that you went on tour with the defendant, what does that mean, or what do you mean by that?
By this time, because I was living with the defendant, we were, he had expressed to me that he wanted me to be closer to him, and we had traveled via tour bus.
And so previously, you testified that you would fly from city to city to see the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was this a change now that you would travel by tour bus from city to city?
Yes.
What would you do when you arrived at a particular stop on the tour?
Do you mean like a pit stop or?
A stop for a show. Would you attend the show?
Sometimes I would, sometimes I would not. No.
And what would you do if you weren't attending a show?
I would stay on the tour bus, or I would see him before or after his show backstage.
And by him, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
You mentioned that you were on a tour bus. Who, if anyone else, was on the tour bus with you?
For the most part, it was me and him. However, sometimes Juice would be on the tour bus.
And who drove the tour bus?
His driver of the tour bus at the time.
Did you learn his driver's name?
Yes.
How did you learn the driver's name?
From the defendant.
Were you introduced to the driver?
I was not, no.
What was the driver's name that the defendant, how did the defendant refer to the driver?
As Top Gun.
I'm showing the witness only what's marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 17. Do you recognize what's shown in 17?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is his tour bus driver?
Top Gun?
Yes, it is.
The government offers Government's Exhibit 17.
No objection.
That's in evidence. You can publish.
Thank you. Now, was there a bathroom on the tour bus?
Yes, there were two.
Could you see them?
Yes, I could.
What, if anything, would you do after you used the toilet on the tour bus?
I would have to knock before I could leave the washroom.
And by knock, what do you mean?
I would have to knock on the door until he would say, "Come on," before I could leave the restroom.
So you were inside the bathroom when you were knocking.
Yes.
When you said he, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
What, if any, sexual contact did you have with the defendant while you were traveling on the tour bus on the tour when you were 17 years old?
We would have oral sex and vaginal penetration.
Were those encounters ever recorded?
Yes, they were.
Who recorded them?
The defendant.
With what?
His iPads.
Court?
I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute. I done lost. What page?
873.
Miss Gaddis, it's almost 1 o'clock. This will be a good time to stop. Yes, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break for lunch. Please don't talk about the case at all. But we'll be back here at 2:15 and enjoy your lunches. Okay, we did all right.
All right. We taking a restroom break or
Well, my mouth is tired.
My eyes are heavy.
I know that's right.
Okay, y'all.
Right.
We've been past our 2-hour time frame.
You ain't
We
keeping
thought
up
you
with
was gonna stop us.
Yeah. Tell us.
You're supposed to be keeping up with the time. We 3 hours in.
What happened?
I know. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay.
my mouth
Hey
is
guys,
tired.
remember page 873,
873.
line 11.
I'll
Okay.
put that
Mhm.
in it.
All right. Did you guys want to say something about what we read?
This is just
Not
This
tonight.
is some BS.
this is
Yeah.
definitely
No,
BS.
I don't understand how everything he says contradicting what happened here.
It's so ridiculous.
I don't understand. And you've been texting your mama saying he making me wear baggy clothes. He telling me to stay in the room. He telling me to do this. But you ain't told her you got herpes. And yet they're gonna pull you out of a school so that you can go back to Chicago and finish.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. But they ain't mentioning herpes no more. The parents are there. You telling her everything else.
Yeah, you never mentioned to your parents you got herpes.
Exactly.
Mm.
Come on now.
And then tell that he sent you back home once he found out you lied to him.
Yep. This is just a bunch of mess.
Anyway, thank you guys. We're gonna continue tomorrow from where we left off because we really want to get people to understand the lies that man told. And he's in the bushes, so he knows what we just read.
Mm-hmm. He was listening. And we had him fall off. We only have 17 in the chat.
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute.
That's
But
because they're all.
Just got some. She said this was the buffet tour.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think she getting this confused with the Black Pants tour because according to Wikipedia, the buffet tour then starts April 29, 2016, and it ends
Ooh.
November 13, 2016. So she on the buffet tour.
She would have been 18.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So they got him found guilty on some charges he shouldn't even be found guilty on.
So she said the buffet tour start. Oh my God.
Wikipedia said the start date was April 29th, 2016, and it ended November 13th, 2016. So there were 37 shows in North America, which is U.S.
So it wasn't even started when she was 17.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Wow.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot of inconsistency.
Yep.
All right, my darlings. Thank you so much.
All
right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, chat. Thank you, guys. Again.
All right then.
Blessed evening, blessed night.
Good night. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, chat.
Good night.